Let's
Welcome,
go.
Stergos.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Stegs, I brought you on because you've got quite an interesting story for someone so young. How
Yeah.
old are you, just to share with everyone?
24 this year.
24.
Yeah.
When you were younger, you ventured overseas to pursue a career in football.
Yeah,
I
that's
kind of, I
correct.
kind of want to start there because I think that's a real interesting story. Do you want to just lay out a little bit of the history of what happened and talk us through it?
So it started off when I was 15, so grade 10. I was pretty fortunate enough that we just knew some people over in England, secured some trials with Man City. So that lasted about like 2 weeks. That was just with their Shadow Elite squad. Try to get a spot there. Obviously, it's every kid's dream that plays football to make it as a professional. So that kind of fell through. There was a lot. We can talk about it later. There was a lot more that went into going over there for that 1 month, and then an agent was lucky enough to help us out to try and find an international platform academy to find clubs to play for, and then which then I ventured over at 16, turning 17, so probably like 8 months later at the time, and then went there for a year and a half, and then got lucky enough, had a trial at Tranmere Rovers, and then signed a scholar deal there.
So, talk me through the difference between going over there and the training style from what you were experiencing when you were here in Australia.
A lot more intense, definitely. It's pretty funny. Like, I put in perspective, it's like the movie Goal, which like Santiago
great movie.
Jimenez. Exactly that. Like when we went to Man City, I was like obviously a lot more tan than like the British boys there, and they had a massive influx of like Spanish players at the time at Man City, and they were very threatened. Didn't even like Salo introduce themselves to me while I was in the changies. I was like, oh yeah, this is sick. Putting a Man City kid on. I was like trying to be friendly. I was like, oh, like I know no one. Like, what's there to lose? And then get out on the pitch. We're playing rondos, just warm up, and these people just pumping balls into my feet, like purposely just trying to stitch me up. I was like, okay, like it's all right. Like I just switch on a bit more, I see what they're trying to do. And then 2 seconds later, during the rondo, someone just 2 foots me. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, okay, like time to like switch on it. Like this is like good pressure. I love it. I live for this. And then moved into like other drills, like started performing very well. Then we played as like a 9v9 match. And then I was like, everyone's like, oh, I'm playing this position, blah, blah. I was like, oh, like strike was free. I was like, oh, yeah, like I'll put my hand up. Usually I play midfield. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I bagged like 9 goals. So I was like, okay, like perfect. Like that's enough to just get my foot in the door here. And then after the session, everyone came up to me. They were like, oh, like started to introduce themselves. Like I earned a bit of respect after the first session, which I was pretty stoked about. And they were saying like, oh, like where are you from? I was like, oh, I'm Australian. They're like, oh, you sure you're not Spanish? Like we thought you were Spanish. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, fair enough. Like, because they're like, oh, we got this massive influx. And that's when they signed Brahim Diaz at the time. There's other boys like Akaya Posa. I don't know where he's playing now, but yeah, so they all just felt threatened. Their spots were taken. And then I earned a bit of respect by just showing what I could do. And it was good. It was a good moment for me. And then funnily enough, I was speaking to my dad because he was there watching with me. Like all the other parents that were there watching were thinking my dad was a scout and all he had was a churchy rain jacket on. It's like it was a bright blue like churchy rain jacket. And they're like, oh, this must be like a Spanish scout or like the person that's bringing all these Spanish players over and all this. And then like that all happened. The session happened, and they like introduced like themselves to my dad. They're like, oh, like where are you from as well? And then he's like, oh, I'm Australian. They're like, oh, we thought you were a Spanish agent bringing all these Spanish players in. And so it was pretty funny with that. And then like just kept training, and then just earned a bit of respect by just showing what you could do, because I feel like everyone feels threatened in that world. It's a very cutthroat industry, and like everyone's trying to make it. Everyone's trying to be that 1% of that 0.001% of the world.
It's amazing that like they didn't even introduce themselves at first. You didn't even speak. It's just automatically assumed not a Spanish kid coming in to take our spot.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I thought it was pretty racist. So I was like, oh well, just because I'm tanned. But no, I was like, oh well, I'll take that as a compliment. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, thanks. So from Man City, you said that didn't quite work out.
No, so that they were like, so what essentially they said was, you're under the age of 18. There's a lot of FIFA laws involved with that, so you're going to have like a family that has to like take you in, like a boarding family, and then getting international clearance is a big thing as well. Mm-hmm. And so essentially it's sort of like a backhand saying like, oh, you're not good enough for that. We're not going to go through this effort of doing all this for you. Because if it was someone like a superstar that they haven't found, they're like, oh yeah, we'll put like £100,000 into this kid instantly. So they were like, oh, we can pass you on to like an agent that sort of helps like Australian boys. His name's Dave Sharp, and he was looking after me for a bit. And then he's like, oh, like, no, I can't really get into trials right now, blah, blah, blah. The next best thing is go to this like international football academy. It was ran by an ex-Liverpool player. He's in the Istanbul squad, but he didn't get a medal. But he was called like the counter to Wayne Rooney. So they grew up together, played in the same international squad and everything. So I was like, okay, like this is like, if I want to make my dream like come true, this is like the next best thing. And then he was like, then we spoke to David, who ran that international academy. He was like, well, we want to like put boys on. Like he had a lot of contacts because of his name. He was a very well-known person in England. So went there just to sort of see like, okay, like let's do this. And then, yeah, spent probably like a year and a half there. Like was meant to go on trials a few places. Got some cool experiences. Went to St. George's Park. Heaps of scouts would come up to me or him saying like, oh, like who's this kid? Like trying to just ask and then sort of trying to see if I could get like a trial. So I had like Burnley looking at me. That never worked out, which was frustrating. Blackburn, Shrewsbury. Who else? Huddersfield as well. So I got to play against some kids that were playing like in England at the time, for under 20s, under 23s. So it was a good experience at 15. Like, yeah, and it just shows the difference because like when you're in Australia or in Brisbane, you go to a private school, you're like, oh, like first 11's like the dream. Like this is like a high standard you can sort of get at like 17, and then obviously you go like your MPL level. I got a bit of a static now. Yeah,
it's
well. Oh, it's dropped out then.
I think it's just got to come. I don't know what it was. I moved my thing a little bit. It's It's so random. I don't understand.
I don't know if I was leaning on this cord or not. That's why.
It's all right. I think we're good now. The noise reduction stuff on it should mitigate most of it, so it won't really come through. But
yeah, no, that's all good.
All good. Keep going. 2 seconds.
Where did I leave off? Oh yeah,
talking about everyone.
Yeah, the different levels. Yeah, so definitely like the level difference is massive because when I went over there, I didn't realize like at 17, like 15 to 17, these kids are playing UEFA under 17 Champions League. And when you're in Australia, you're playing like under 18s MPL at best, and you're playing first 11, and you think you're the king's nuts here. But like you go over there, you're nothing. Like you're not even in comparison to any of those kids. Like these kids that are playing those are like some of the best kids for their age in the world. So yeah.
Yeah, wake up call. It's
a huge wake up call. And I think that sort of just makes the system so broken here is because we inflate all the egos of the kids that are like sort of like doing like prospected to be good and playing at these levels. And they're like, oh yeah, like we can, like the world's our oyster, but like realistically you're not.
Yeah, you're not pressure testing yourself against the best every weekend or every few months or whatever it is over there. Like they are exposed to the best all the time.
Exactly. So, and I think like a big factor that we've previously talked about is I think that their lifestyles, just because Australia's so good, like you can get a job anywhere. Like there's always options in Australia. No matter what, you can just go down the road, get a job, and most likely you'll get hired. But you go over these people like in England, so overpopulated, you go like a population, I think it's like 80 plus mil now. And they can't, like some people can't afford to live, or they're immigrants, they're moving over, like they migrate from Africa. Like football is their way out. But you sort of see with NRL here with like all your like Islanders and stuff. It's like the way out is sports. Like I've got to try and break this like generational curse of like being poor. So like it means a lot more for them. So that intrinsic factor is just huge on them.
It just introduces such a higher level of intensity.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you've got the backup strategy of worst case, I can get a decent job, I can still live a pretty good life because I'm in a country that facilitates all that.
Exactly.
It's hard to have that drive. It's got to be deeply intrinsic. Out of desperation to get there.
Exactly. And that's what you see. And that's why when you go see trials come in, they're trying to prove a point, or the people that are in the squads are trying to keep their spots. So they're trying to make this trial look as bad as possible. But yeah, and then there's another scenario. It's sort of like nepotism is, sorry, Tim Cahill, your son. But yeah, no, he came on trial. We played TNS, a Welsh Prem team. And Shay Cahill came on trial with us. And I was just like, he was playing at Everton before that, got released. And then he came on trial, played a game. And then we're like, fuck, he's dog shit. We can swear on here, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I was like, no, like he's shit. Like he missed a sitter and all this. And I was like, there's no way this kid can go sign somewhere. 2 weeks later, ate my words, he signed a pro for Granada. I was like, this is absolute bullshit. But then it was good because it gave me a bit of hope. But then I was like, reality sort of hit where it was like, oh, it's maybe just because of his name. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's where the part is like who you know really plays in your favor.
Unless you're like an unreal talent,
Oh, yeah.
completely undeniable, you can get a lot of open doors from just knowing or having a father who played or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes it tough. So you jumped around or through this academy.
Yeah.
You went all these places. Then you eventually got signed on somewhere.
Yeah, to Tranmere Rovers.
Yep.
So I signed a 2-year deal there. So I spent 2 years there, and then COVID sort of hit in that last like term of the contract. So that sort of just shut down playing, training, because over there in the UK was so bad that we didn't know what the future was looking like. So it was completely like lockdown where, you know, you could only go to the shops if it was like needed or one person in the household. So that was for about like 5 months. Then they sort of introduced training. And then so sort of I was like non-contracted. My scholar had sort of ended, but they hadn't released me yet. So spent there, COVID came, and then the Olympic Games were coming up. And was this probably end of 2021 or
I think 20 end of 21 is.
I think so. And then was it 2020? No, end of 2020. Yeah, end of 2020. So Olympic Games comes up, and then like for football people out there that don't know that they play the under 23 squads for their national teams. So I remember coming back, like, well, sort of back training during COVID. This is probably like 8 months down the track. My academy manager comes up to me. It's like, oh, the Australian FA is asking about you. And I was like, oh, like this could be a good break because you need like international football status to actually place at a high like category academy, or like even get a sniff at like having a pro somewhere or a trial somewhere a bit higher up, or even your own club being like, oh, like this kid's an international player. We could just sell him, or he's obviously good enough to play international football. We'll keep him. So I was like, I was over the moon. I was like, oh, this is my breakthrough. Like, hopefully, I can get something through this. And then I had another mate at the time playing for Watford, and he got the same sort of like notification. We were just texting back and forth. I was like, oh, like I feel real good. He's at Watford. You know, I should have a great crack here. And then because the plan was them to fly people out to Qatar to do their camp, because they were going to obviously all isolate together, play it, and then because the Olympic Games are all in their like little like hotel sort of accommodation, so they could sort of like cross over with people, have interactions because they've all been isolated. And yeah, no, and then 2 weeks later, academy manager calls me in. It's just like it was very cutthroat. Like it was very like turning moment in my life, I reckon, because he just said like straight up like, oh, you're not good enough. I was like, okay. And I think that taught me, because my whole life was just dedicated to football. My personality was football. Everything was football. And that's like all I knew myself as, like going to be a footballer. And then when he said, oh, you're not good enough, I was like, I sort of got angry. I got defensive in the moment. I was like, well, he's like, but no, sorry. I got angry because he was like, oh, like you're really talented and you're good. Blah, blah. I was like, well, and he's like, oh, you're just tactically not that good, or, you know, and like some bits you're like you're a bit inexperienced. I'm like, well, if you can see that, why didn't you try and help make me become a better player? Like you want to form plays and not just grab a kid off the cuff and just hope that they have it and then just push them through. Like if you're a coach, you should be teaching. So that's where I got defensive and stuff like that. It's like, well, I'm sorry, you're just not good enough. I can just go get a 16-year-old kid, sign another 2-year deal and have the same run with them and just sort of see what happens. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Just got up, left. And I was just like, he's like, oh, but you can still train with us. I was like, no, I was like, fuck that. I'm not coming back here. Like, and then, yeah, just like, it just sort of like, I don't know, reality just hit me. I was like, what do I do with myself now? And then it was sort of in the midst of COVID, trying to reach out for like trials, like even lower league. I was like, you know what, the plan will be, I'll climb that lower ladder, go from the bottom, just like play like semi-pro, because you still have a good opportunity. Just try and work my way up the ladder. And I was like messaging their like coaches, stuff like that, or whoever I knew, just like every contact possible. And they're like, well, we can't bring trialists in unless like you're a known player. We can't bring trialists in. And I was like, fuck, like what do I do with myself here? And I was staying with like my ex at the time, and she was just like I was just like, oh well, maybe I just work at like Tesco, so it's like your Woolies, and I just work for like a year, just sort of see where it takes me. And then because I was just ready to give up on football, just because I was like, oh, like I'm not as good as I thought I was, and I was still trying to convince myself like it's a game of opinions, but yeah, I just didn't know where I stood with football at the time. So then, luckily enough, uh, a football agent in Australia who's based in Sydney, he looks after a lot of the under 23 boys that play for Australia. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, just reaching out. Can see you play overseas, like you're at Tranmere Rovers and all this. Like we should just have a talk. Like, would you be open to that? I was like, yeah. Like I've got nothing to lose at this point. I was like, I need something. And he was just like, yeah, no. If you sign with me, blah blah blah. Like we'll get in touch with A-League squads because there's nothing happening in the UK. And he broke it down to like you're going to spend a year there, wait till COVID sort of lifts all the restrictions, and then play lower league, or you could come back to Australia. Restrictions weren't bad at all. Like NPL was still playing, A-League was still playing. He's like I can get you into A-League clubs. We get trials. And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should. So I just decided like a couple months trying to sort out flights from London to Darwin because I had to do isolation as well coming back to Australia.
Yeah, that whole
so it was a massive process with that. So trying to get that all sorted so I could come back and just have another crack at footy. I'm like, oh, let's try it in Australia. Like, I think I'm ready for it. I've had a great taste of like English football, like what the standard should be of like international football. So I did that, packed up my bags, spent like 2 weeks in Darwin. That was just an absolute shithole. But it's ridiculous.
I couldn't go anywhere either.
Oh no, I literally just
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, the little like dugouts, like digs for like FIFO workers, and so I just sit on the veranda. It's like 45 degrees, just getting sunburnt, and then I go inside. I took a football, I was smart, and I was just smashing it against the wall. Like that's all I did for like 8 hours a day. Just did a workout, and I did like an hour of just like passing, like all little technical stuff, and this small little like would be like a 3x3 sort of setup en suite. That's all I did, just keep myself sane for 2 weeks. And I was like, that put the desire in me more. I was like, you know, like I really had a point to prove to myself. I was like, I am good enough. I should do it. You know, and it gave me a lot of motivation. Someone saying like, oh, you're not good enough. I was like, you know what? I shouldn't let this person's opinion sort of control me, but it's enough to like burn a desire in me to be like, I know, like you can prove it to yourself that you are enough. Did that, came back to Australia, started playing NPL, and I only had 1 day left on the transfer window. So I was like, oh, just called up Redlands. I was like, yeah, I'm going to come down, blah, blah, blah. I played unreal. Like, I thought it'd be so unfit, but just because I was doing like HIIT workouts and stuff during like Darwin, it's like isolation, absolutely cleaned up at Redlands and like, holy shit. Like, literally walking off the pitch, training's finished. The contract's there, pens there. They're like, oh yeah, you're gonna be on the highest paid wage with all like the 2 other boys are like they have massive names in like football in Queensland, especially. I was like, yeah, perfect, just signed it. And but I had no choice at the time because the next day it was deadline. So I was like, oh well, do that. And then the plan was just to sort of just get football, like start playing football again because I hadn't played a proper like 11v11 in like probably 6 months or so. So just start playing again and then start reaching out to A-League teams and whatnot. And then that just sort of like fell through, I can say. But I was in talks with Central Coast, Wellington Phoenix, Adelaide United, Brisbane Roar, Perth Glory, and then it sort of just fell through. And they all sort of came to the same conclusion of saying, well, why would we invest all this money in moving you here, paying for like accommodation, when we could just go get a local boy paying like $100 a week? We can save so much more money. Like, you're not a known person. So it was just hard to just get that foot in the door. And I just sort of, I don't know, just carked it, I guess. And then, yeah, I guess football, yeah, it was good. I learned a lot from it. There's a lot to take out from the experience itself, but obviously frustrating. But it is what it is.
Yeah. We can take these off maybe if it's getting a bit annoying with the static.
It's only on and off though.
Yeah, that randomly just came up.
Let's stop there.
Yeah. Look, I don't understand. I'll figure that out. So it seemed to be a case of if there was an easier option where it's like we don't have to pay as much,
Yeah.
they're going to go for that. Even if maybe you're a little bit better, a little more ready, it's just a costly investment.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
seems to be a running theme.
Yeah, well, I think that's like a. Sometimes I think of it as like a polite, like, nah, go fuck yourself
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
that's the
thing.
nicest way to
Like
let you
that's like
down.
that's how it like. Obviously, just try and be nice about it, but like many clubs said that. Like, um, I went on trial with Bolton as well. I played unreal. I even rainbow flicked a kid, and then I scored. I was like I was so confident. Yeah, rainbow flicked this kid, and then I volleyed it in. And then like after that session, that was like my final session with them. I was only there for like a week. And the coach was like, we'll put in perspective for you. Like what position do you play? I was like, oh, midfield. And he's like, well, in our midfield, we've got at our as Cam, so centre attacking mid, England international, under 23s. And he's like 17. Then we got like your two defensive mids. One's a New Zealand international, one's a Romanian international. He's like, I'd like, have you represented your country? I was like, no. And he's like, well, it's hard to sign someone that's not at an international like level. It's like standing. I was thinking like that's where it was like a polite like no, like you're not good enough sort of thing. Because if I was good enough, even not playing international, they still would stick that next out. So
Yeah,
that was a thing. Yeah,
they would just constantly use that as an easy letdown
yeah,
because like he's not going international. We'll just go with that to not crush him.
100%.
Did that? Do you think that helped you, or do you think it allowed you to give yourself a little bit more of an excuse to? So okay, so why? It's because I'm not international, so maybe I can focus more on that. Did anyone give you specific advice, like you need to get better at these elements in order to progress more? I know one of the
Yeah,
coaches said like tactically not quite there, but when you every time you get let down, were they giving you advice as to how you can move forward, or they would just leave you to your own devices to figure that out?
more just leaving to your own devices. Like there was one thing during like tram year. So first year, because it's not restrictive, I went out heaps. Like I thought I was like, oh, like I've sort of made it. My ego was like inflated. I was like, yeah, like I feel like I'm on like cloud nine right now. I'm living the dream now. And I realized you could go out there because I don't have scanners. So I was like 16 going out, heaps, like basically every weekend going out like the night before my games and stuff like that. But I was scoring and like still putting a shift in. So I was like, it's not actually affecting me. But then it got to a point where my coach wouldn't start me. And then he just put me on for like 40, like the second half only. And then like I'll do super well. Like I'll get an assist, like set up a few goals or like get the game winner. And then that season ended. And he like is like, we'll have to go and have our like chats, like just a review after our first year. And he's like technically like unreal player, but you're just not fit. Like you just keep blowing out. And obviously because I knew I was just like hungover and stuff. And so that was a big turnaround point. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna like get super fit. So like there is no excuses because if I've got the technical part of football and then like a bit of game knowledge, like, and if I can bring fitness up, like I'll have a good chance in my second year to, after that second year finishes, to go on to that pro contract or just have a like start playing with the first team at least. So I really knuckled down, and that's when sort of that COVID hit. We were saying, and then yeah, just smashing 5Ks like every other person was during COVID in England. Yeah, just got super fit. Like, and then I remember rocking up like when we had our first training session back. We'll do like fitness testing, and I smashed the beep test. It's funny because I could have kept going, but the speaker died, so I just have to end it. Like I think it was like 13-12. So I was like, oh well. They're like, well, you already won, so it's fine. But like I wanted to prove like I'm the fittest, and they were like so impressed. I came back like insanely fit. Even did like the Cooper Mile test and everything. Like smashed everyone, and I lost a lot of weight. But I cut out alcohol, and I was actually like just dialed in. But no, yeah, it was always just like it was never constructive. I definitely sort of say back to your question. There's no constructive like criticism. It was always just like you got to figure it on your own.
At that stage, were you over there by yourself?
Yeah. So I just roomed. So the whole time when I went to England the first time for a month with dad, and then after that I chose to go over there by myself, which I wanted. I wanted that independency. I really craved it. So yeah, the whole time there, and they just digged with players, and they were a lot older. Even at Tranmere, I had one kid from Perth, Mickey. He was me and him were like best mates during like because we just went through everything together. We just understood because we we're both Australian. And then so we were just like best friends at the time, just going through it all together.
Yeah.
Just taking on all the emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it would have benefited you if you had someone a little bit older, almost like mentor you in that stage? Do you think you would have been able to like? Would you have listened for one if there was like a mentor type figure? Because I find that a big thing. Like you might have the best mentor in the world, but you might not listen to him.
Yeah.
But do you think you would have listened, and do you think that would have benefited you? At least in those initial stages, like you probably wouldn't have gone out drinking and stuff. You would have just focused from the beginning. Or you reckon no matter what, you probably would have just gone a similar trajectory?
Well, because so at the International Football Academy, I was the youngest there. Most of the boys were like 20 and like 20 and plus. So they all would grab me around the shoulder and be like they would go to the gym. They're like, oh, like we go in the gym out of their own accord. They're like, no, fuck that. I'm just gonna have a nap. And they're like stop being lazy. And I was like why? It felt like it was a personal attack because I was still young. It was very different, like having like pressure or someone over your shoulder, like trying to push you. And I was like, oh, go get fucked. Like I'm good enough to play. Like, which in hindsight, I should have just listened. So I did think someone telling me what to do or like trying to grab me by the shoulder, I just never listened to. Which would have helped at 15 because those are like detrimental years for like a young person for football, especially. Those your development years, 15 to 18 is where it's like your play is made.
That's the sweet spot, is it? It's where you like tactics jump up and you're technically you get to a level. And physically, I guess you're developing too. So everything all at once. Yeah, so hitting the gym from 15 onwards, heavy.
Yeah, exactly. 50, or just going doing extra sessions, like. And it's funny, who is it? Like Jamie Carragher. Oh, is it Jamie Carragher? I'm not too sure which footballer it was, but they were saying like they had to do. Oh no, Rio Ferdinand, exactly the person. They had to do double the amount what the other person was doing in his position, and I never realized that till during COVID. And I was like, it was funny because that's what I would do. Would be if the Brisbane Roar would play, I'd go run 15Ks, like hard out, like as if it's like match fitness, just because I wasn't playing at the time. No football was on. It's like, I have to do more than these people. They're training every day. I was running in the morning, doing a session, and then in the house, just smashing the ball against the wall. Like I was just doing more and more and more. Like I had to do more to be better than them. So like, I wish I did that younger, but it's all part of learning. And I never look back at football like I regret. Because it's so easy to. Like there was a point where I did, and that mental health just declined completely. Because it's like what are people like ego death?
Yeah,
exactly like an ego death after I got told I wasn't good enough, and like what am I like? And that was like the biggest sort of like adversity I sort of faced. It was like during that, and then having no social life, no parents, living in like my ex's house. Yeah, and then, like my grandfather died at the time, like during COVID, and then I had a mate that died as well. And I was just like, what is this?
You're just forced immediately to confront the harsh side of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, there is a utility to like looking back for a small period of time just to figure out what I can do better next time. That's the learning, like you said before. But
yeah,
there's no point living in that. Like,
no, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, hey, looking back, like. I'm probably grateful I had such a cool experience so young. Yeah. Very few people even got that far and got that opportunity to try that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all my mates say. And I'm like, it's good. Like I should even I should be grateful in that sense. Because heaps of mates say it still to this day, like that's so sick. You had like at least had a crack at it or just had a sniff at it. And I was like, yeah, but I was like, I was a bit of a perfectionist as a kid. I was like, yeah, but it's not enough. Like I could have done more. But then I'm just like, oh no, it's okay. At least like then I'll sort of recognize like, no, it's okay. Like you'd be grateful for what you got to experience because no other kids got to experience this.
You can't change it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I always just contradict myself in my mind.
I think it's cool though that you had like even so young, you had that drive to be great, to do something like extraordinary, which I think. Even though that didn't work out, like that can carry on. Like that's already, you're starting from a better point than a lot of people.
Yeah. Because
you kind of know what it takes to get really good at something a lot of people try to get really good at.
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing.
Yeah.
So when you came back to Australia, you started playing here. Did you bring that same level of intensity to the NPL football? Or by then you had already kind of gone like, all right, I'm going to kick this on for a little bit. I'll semi-try, but I'm not bringing that same intensity still? Had you kind of let it go?
No, I definitely held on to it.
Yeah.
It was a big actual change. Like I was just so drilled into like going hard into tackles, even training, like just super hard, like working my socks off, just like hungry for the ball, like demanding it, and like just like basically like scream at your other players. Like that was what it was like. Like they expected the best of you, but like you couldn't take it personal. But they would just demand the ball. If you didn't get the ball, like you're nearly in a punch up with your teammate.
This was overseas. When
this was in
so
England.
You would bring that intensity back here.
Yeah, and I'd exactly do that. And that like first season back in NPL, I was like if I want to play A League, like I've got to show like what have I have experience, and I know I should be better than all these boys because I have that bit of experience in my pocket. So even like in trainings at Redlands, I was just like, it would have been such a pest to them because I was just running rings around them, just so much fitter, like screaming at them. They're like, who's this kid coming in, like thinking he is? And like first couple of weeks, like we'd get into a fair few like pushing shoves with like players in our team. But then like we never hated each other. Like it was just heat of the moment. Like I'd like nutmeg them and sprint past it, and they would just come around and just smash my leg. But then like, I don't know, the dog was sort of embedded in me from England because you have to stand up for yourself. So like these people are way bigger than me, like centre back stuff, and I'm like in their face and like we're just pushing and shoving. And then it just gave me more drive. Like, okay, like let's do it again and again, and let's make his life worse. Because if that got a reaction from him, let's just keep doing it. Like I'm in control of him now, basically. So you can just start leaning into like the psychological side of like football. So yeah, which is a big thing over there.
Do you find that fun? I feel like that'd be
yeah.
Like I'm in your head. It doesn't matter how good you are technically. You can't control your emotion.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because you see people start folding, and you know the players, like it's going to be a long game if their reactions like they pick themselves up like, let's go again and again. Because a lot of people here don't have, like won't be able to calm themselves down and be like, oh, like we're in for a little bit of a fight here. They'll just lose their shit and like have a little like tantrum. Like, well, why are you doing this? Or like, just get up, it's football. Keep going. Like over there, yeah. Like that was like a big thing. Like especially Scousers, each person, I don't know why. Well, maybe because it's just such a rough place. All of them are just so like, I wouldn't say like hard, but like they would just stand up for themselves. No matter who they're like against or anything, they would just be going at it with that next person. And I was a bit softer. And then like, what taught me was just, I would just get crunched and crunched and crunched. And it just got to when I was like, fuck this. Like I've got to like stand up for myself. So I'd throw a tackle back at them. And then like your mates after.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like best match. Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's just like a verbal match there. Well, it makes you perform better. Like obviously some people will fold under that pressure, knowing like, oh, I'm about to get 2-footed into the knees. And then some people on the other side will be like, let's go. Like I've just got to be that 2 seconds sharper just so I can beat that player and make him look like an idiot.
You're probably going to love that aspect of it to actually get anywhere in the game. Like you've got to just be completely, especially in England.
Yeah.
Even at a professional level, people who watch it, you can see the intensity is different.
Yeah.
The intensity is like, it's physical and it's intense. It's obviously different in other countries.
Yeah, definitely.
It's still high level and still competitive, but there's that different roughness to the game there, which you either love or hate.
Yeah, exactly. Which increases the sharpness and the speed of it, which is the intensity like increases because you don't want your legs broken.
Yeah, no.
And you want to make this guy look like an idiot. Like if he's throwing a 2-foot challenge in, thinking he's timed this perfectly, you do a nice touch that he didn't think of, and he just looks like an idiot sliding away. And he's just like, well, I got you.
Yeah.
And then, but then it happens again. It's like, it's a constant fight. Like you can't switch off.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 8.
Yeah, which is good. And that's what I brought back here. And then I remember my first game against Brisbane Roar youth. I came on off the bench, like, because I didn't have match fitness at the time. It's like a week being back. Came on, I turned the ball over, but like in my head, like it's drilled. As soon as you lose that ball, have a reaction, like win that back instantly. And I turned around, and this kid just took a touch, and I just 2-footed him, like literally 2-foot. And you'd have to be tactical with it. Like what you wouldn't just take them out. You'd sort of like at least sort of grab the ball a bit, and then like if your foot goes over the ball a bit more, like you get that legs, it's okay. I did that and I crunched this kid. And then the ref came up to me. He's like, "You're so lucky that you've been on for 30 seconds that I didn't give you a red card because that was an outrageous tackle." I just had to like get right. And that's when I realized like they're a bit softer in Australia with like tackles and stuff.
So you get away with that over there. It wouldn't
Oh,
be
yeah.
It'd just be like he's back, he's letting everyone know.
Yeah,
he's
it's just a
here, that's
foul.
it.
Yeah, it's just a foul.
Yeah.
And then like he's like, "You're so," I didn't even get a yellow card. He's like, "You just came on, so I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt." And I laughed and I was like, "Oh, I didn't laugh." I was like, "What the hell? Like that was a great tackle." I got the ball in him and I cleaned him up like through his shins. And then yeah, I don't know. I thought, oh, that was a bit like a eye-opening moment, like Australian football. And then even in training and stuff like that.
Did you have to tape it down then? Did you feel like your intensity dropped just by proxy of being in an environment where they're not going to actually even let you go as hard? Or the intensity was still there? You just became a little more sensible with how you displayed it.
I'd look at it now, I'd probably say like my intensity probably dropped sort of to cater to fit in more. Definitely, just like in training, people are like, "Oh, like why are you going studs up with your players? We don't want to get them injured." And then like the obviously intensity will sort of drop. Like you sort of be a bit more passive with your tackles, and you sort of let them get a pass off that they shouldn't really get a pass off there. So yeah, I'd probably say so. That would be the case, which is annoying because I'd sort of neglected the experience that I had, and yeah, sort of catered so I could sort of fit in within Australian football.
It's interesting that that's because you would think this is why we may struggle to bridge the gap between overseas, because even at the NPL level, there's like a, hey, don't go too intense in training. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah,
surely you would want it to be as competitive as possible to get the best out of the players and get as good as you can.
yeah. Well, and I think like a big thing would be no coach sort of picks off like performance based through training. So like the people that know they're getting picked, or like the favorites, like your people that are getting paid a bit more, wouldn't try as hard in training. So I think they would be too scared to get injured, or like, "Oh, we're not going to train as hard." But then you had boys that are hungry, try and do it, but then they're getting told off by like the senior players or the players that are actually getting picked.
It's interesting because I wonder, is it to the point of where most of these guys getting paid well in NPL, they've got a second job anyway as well. Like, it's not like they're going hard out for. Yeah. Not all of them are going hard out for the next level. A lot of them have something else to go to. It's just a really good second income. It's really good. They're good at something.
Definitely.
It's almost like an outlet.
It 100% would be that. And that's where it's just too much opportunity in Australia. Like, like how happy can you go, "Oh, just go kick a ball, go get $500 a week, go work a normal job." Like that, like the hours you accumulate for football for $500 would be like 6 hours during the week. Like I'd take that $500 for 6 hours. So yeah, some people just cruise through, and obviously, but like if you're gonna play football, like at least sort of take it a bit serious, and then yeah, that sort of sets the mood, especially if the senior players are like saying stuff like that or acting a certain way. Sort of just like dilutes the culture of the club or like training and everything, because everyone's like, "Oh, maybe I'll take a step back," and then you realize, "Oh, wait, why am I not getting picked?" And then you're like, "Oh, well, because you're trying to do the same as them. You're not trying to stand out."
Tempo.
Yeah.
And like that's not what got you there. The intensity is probably what got you there. So
exactly.
Now you're tapering back on the thing that actually made you stand out.
Exactly. So that's probably just self-inflicted that I just didn't grab the balls by the horns long enough just to keep just chipping away at it. But yeah, no. So after that year, just sort of made a money move to Southside Eagles. But the plan was still, because I was still speaking to the Raw at the time, because Warren Moon was the coach at the time and he coached me at Churchy, and he was like talking about trying to get me into the Raw for a trial. And then we spoke to Chris Grosman. He was the coach at the time for the Raw Youth. I was like, "Oh, like if I score heaps goals in QPL, like would I still get picked?" He's like, "Yeah, probably. Like if you can score goals, you can score goals." So I was like, "Oh, maybe I just drop down a league, get a bit more money, and try and do that." It just didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, so that was sort of like the decline of football for me, was playing there. Just too much politics there. Just too many opinions.
Was it injury as well? Did you end up getting injured in that year too? Or it wasn't so much injury, it was just...
That first year, Oh yeah, no, I did. I ripped my rec firms, my quad, but that was only I was only out for 4 weeks, five
Right,
weeks.
right.
But that was just after the floods.
Mm.
So we still had played a fair bit of the season, which I was flying. I was playing like right wing back, just because I was just a lot fitter than
Yeah.
everyone else. But I kept that intensity of fitness. Like I knew how fit I had to be, and like basically every second day, if I wasn't doing some form of cardio to like top up my cardiovascular system, I'd be like so pissed off with myself just because I knew I had to be fitter. Because when you're fitter, you can be a bit sharper. You're not sloppy on the ball. You look a bit better, and it makes your life easier because you can just do more than the other person you're versing against. If they're not as fit as you, you can just make them look shit, just purely off fitness. Because a lot of people like can be technically unreal, but they blow out after 5 minutes. You can just see them like lunging at the ball, getting real sloppy, not holding themselves well. So yeah, fitness was like a big thing I noticed as well over there that I brought back here. Like
Yeah.
you have to be extremely fit.
Yeah, just you tick that box and then everything else follows. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about blowing out so quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a hell of a hell of an experience with the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
When you were overseas, obviously there was a long period where you had a lot of time to think about it because you weren't playing football.
Yeah.
What do you think you worked out in that time? Like when the football had stopped and you were over there, do you think you came to any kind of epiphany realization? I know you did with the fitness side of it,
Yeah.
but you would have had a lot of time to just sit to yourself and think.
I I think my world just came crashing down because like it was just so much like grief from like people passing away, football, like that ego death, and I was just like, well, it was, yeah, I'd cry, like I'd just sit there, and my ex at the time, she was like, didn't know what to do, and I just seemed so lost at the time. I was just like, I don't like it because that football got stripped away. I was like, I don't know what my identity is, like what am I?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I ever thought about like, I don't know, like, I don't know. All I thought during that time was just like, pick yourself up, just keep moving. I obviously tried to teach my stuff, like to like distract myself would be from all the emotions, like how to trade or stuff like that. But I don't think I came to like a consensus of anything of like what life is or
No.
like maybe like, oh, like this is reality, just pick yourself up, keep going, like the world. And well, I did come up with a theory at the time because my ex was studying like biology, like, and she was studying like evolutionary biology at the time, and I was just like always thinking like the world's like a treadmill, like it just keeps spinning, and if you hop off that treadmill, you're just going to get left behind. You just got to keep moving with that treadmill, because if the world keeps evolving, you don't evolve and adapt, you're left behind, and you're just sort of there, just being like sort of a victim. But you just got to just keep moving with the world.
I think that is a big realization. That
Yeah,
is like
that's
it's like one foot in front of the other. It seems simple enough, but it can be very hard to actually like
yeah,
do, especially when you're in that much of an identity crisis when so much
yeah.
comes crashing down all at once.
That'd be like my only thought. Like that was like a big thing I like believed. That like sort of probably got me through it heaps. Is like you just can't get off it. Or in other sense, like people say, like you can't get off the bike. You just got to keep staying on, just keep moving. There's a lot of obviously different sayings, but it's all the same idea, like
Yeah.
same meaning to it. So yeah, that was probably like the one thing, just like get up and just keep going.
Yeah, keep the momentum.
Yeah.
Even if you're like stumbling in the wrong direction, you're moving somewhere.
Exactly.
Like you'll figure out eventually that it's not the right path.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's where that'd be like, yeah, the only thing that would make me like think deeply, and is to run around like the countryside. And sometimes I'd just stop, and like it was actually like really nice, like canal runs I'd do. So I'd just sit there like at a like park bench, especially during COVID, just sitting there, just pondering, just like what the fuck is going on with life right now.
Mm.
Like I was just so confused. And then like running was sort of like running got me through it, definitely. Especially the times where football was so uncertain, my life was so uncertain with what I was doing. I was like, oh, well, at least if I just go for a run, it just clears my head, and I can just go run like 8Ks out, just halfway, just sit down, just being in nature just helped heaps. Like it just helped me just sit there and sort of think. And then and sort of distracted me as well and gave me a bit of purpose during like times of uncertainty. So yeah, that's why I like running. It's just so simple, but it's just so effective.
And you still do it without headphones? You just
Yeah, of course.
you're still mental.
Yeah, and exactly. And that's when I can like sort of, obviously if it gets hard the session, I'm so locked into the session. But when I'm just there on like long runs, I just sit and think like just whatever thought sort of comes, and I don't know, questioning my own morality as like a human, like where do we stand, or just my beliefs and stuff, or
So you
whatnot.
work out a lot while you're running. You do a lot of your
Yeah, definitely. It's a big thing now because my drives to work is like 40 minutes nearly. I'm sitting there just thinking about a million different things. So it's good, and I like it because I sort of hate it at the same time, like the self awareness, because I'm just like, oh, it's just so like detrimental to myself. Like this is actually so shit being a human. Like this is our reality. But then it's like I'm so like sort of trying to piece everything together. But I don't know. I guess it's just part of being human and just living a life.
Is that your main form of like contemplation? Is just driving or running? Do you ever like do riding and things like that to try and work things out?
No, not it'd be just running or driving. Mainly driving. Been a bit slack on the running, but yeah, definitely
You keep
driving.
getting injured though. You keep getting little niggles
Exactly.
here and there.
Yeah, no, those are probably the points where I think
There's a clarity along runs. Like I myself, I haven't done that many longer runs, but of the ones I have done where I'm not listening to anything,
yeah,
you do think.
yeah, exactly.
Like you get into it after the 15 minutes of like struggling to get into that flow state or whatever it is. You're able to just like think on everything. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see why people do this. There's something clear about it. Even long walks, you can do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's think about the intensity of running that makes it a little more at the forefront.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
get things from going.
Yeah, because the only thoughts I get if like the running gets intense is like, oh, well, it'd be like anything. Like I always think like the mind's just trying to like stop itself from doing something hard. So like they're like, oh, like you need to go to the toilet. I'm just like, no, fuck that. Like just run. Like, this is like your body just trying to, or your mind trying to tell your body, no, let's just not do this. So like any sort of thought that sort of makes me want to like stop, I just play against it. So that was like a big thing I worked out like during like COVID. I was like, especially like I was like starting to do like longer runs, and I was doing them fast. I was like doing like sub 40, like 10 minutes, like sub 25 Ks, and like my body like 1K and be like, oh no, you need to go to the toilet, or like, oh, your laces are like a bit off, like you should tie. And like, fuck that, I just got to soldier through this. Like my mind can't control it, it's just my body now.
Do you find every time once you get past that first initial K or whatever it is, all that starts to quieten?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I feel like it's just the new baseline after that. Like it doesn't hurt anymore after that. You reach the peak where it hurts, but anything after that, it's just like sort of just numb. Like your baseline's just risen from pain. So yeah, no, that's what, running's good.
Yeah, it's funny because I think well, I might fuck this up a little bit, but biologically, when you start running, so you start an intense thing, your body goes into the fight or flight. Like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you moving so fast? Why do we need to exhaust so much energy?
Yeah.
So for like 10, 15 minutes, no matter how fit you are, whatever it is, you're going to have all those, stop, what are you doing? You don't need to do this. Go to the toilet, chill, stop. But then once you get past it, you switch over from, I think, sympathetic to parasympathetic.
Right, okay.
Where you go into a more, okay, we can relax a little bit now. We don't need fight or flight. This is the new baseline. Like you said, your body actually just reacts that way. And it's funny, it's every time. So you have to win that little battle against the inner bitch every single time you start a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But you get better at it. You get better at it over time, yeah.
It's easy to recognize. And I feel like if you take your foot off the gas where you'll sort of like you stop running for a bit, I feel like even just getting yourself to go out for a run is hard. Like that's probably the hardest part. That is the hardest part. And trying to minimize that, like I do it so many ways where like I have to wear like workout clothes like in my bag after work or stuff like that. Just force myself to get changed just to do it. And like I so many times like, no, I don't want to do it. And like, oh well, just do it, just see what happens. And then you'd be so like grateful after. And I feel like that's the good thing about it. Like exercising, it's just you sort of feel great after it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think like you shouldn't rely on motivation to do anything, but you should utilize every time you are motivated.
Exactly.
So if I reckon late at night, if I'm motivated, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
You pack the bag, you get it ready, so it's literally at the door as you walk out. So in the
exactly.
morning when you wake up and you're not motivated,
Yeah,
it's right there. You've already done 99% of the hard work, and then it's
exactly.
just picking up that bag as you walk out,
Yeah,
which you can still bitch out on, but
yeah,
most of the
exactly.
time,
But that's
most
just
of the time you won't if you've got
yeah,
it all set up, ready to go.
yeah, no, definitely. And that's when you feel worse about yourself if you pull out or something like that. You're like, fuck, I went through all that effort last night. And then I just sometimes I do it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, what have you come to? But it's okay. Like, you always got the next day.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, yeah, as much as like, yeah, like you do have the next day. But like, once if you don't, like, you just do it. So sometimes you just gotta like force yourself. Yeah, motivation. Yeah, only gets you so far. Definitely,
Yes.
definitely the discipline.
Yeah, you can utilize motivation, but you need more than that. Like
Yeah,
if you're waiting for motivation to do anything important, it's probably never gonna come. Like
yeah, exactly.
you gotta just put in these good habits.
Yeah, and I think that's where my like self awareness comes in, where I'm like, everything you're gonna do is gonna just suck. Just do it. Like it doesn't matter. Just choose. Like, what would you like? Choose your regret. Where like, would you regret more not going, or um, would you regret not like going for that run? Like, and just like, oh yeah, I'd be more pissed off if I didn't go for that run. I
Yeah.
mean, who cares if I was in pain for like 20 minutes of my life? I can go sit at home for like an hour and relax. Like it's a good trade off. So yeah, no, discipline and just choosing the hard thing, because yeah, reality, everything sucks.
Yeah.
Everything sucks, and I feel like that's where the self awareness sort of kills me. I'm like, why would I put myself through this shit just for what? So yeah, that's where it's sort of like it's detrimental. I'm like, oh, like I feel like a hypocrite to myself. Like, oh, like, and I'm like, no, there's benefits to it. Like, just keep pushing through. But yeah, and then after I'm like, yeah, no, that's sweet. I'll do it again.
Do you think you would trade your self awareness for anything? Because I go through the same thing because I'm like hypercritical of myself in a lot of ways. I like think on a lot of things.
Yeah,
Consider myself like fairly self aware.
yeah,
But even though it's more tormenting than otherwise,
mm,
I don't think I would trade that for anything. I think it's too useful.
yeah,
It's too useful than to just be able to just like turn the blind eye to all the things that
yeah,
you feel like some people have the capacity to just like not even think about the things we think about.
yeah. It's hard to turn a blind eye. Like, I feel like I'd like to deconstruct sort of every moment, and just reflect on everything.
Have you always been like that, do you think? Like from young or from as young as you can remember, were you always super analytical, super self
Yeah,
aware?
definitely. I feel like there was just so much like as a kid that sort of made me just sort of like reflect and be self aware of things. Like, especially like young, like grieving like people that we've lost. When I was younger, I was just like what is this? Like why? Sort of thing. So I'd sort of like always ask the question why to myself. And then that's probably where it sort of like just picked up. But yeah, from young I always sort of analyze everything. Even if it was down to football as well, I would reflect on the game, like what I could have done. And maybe that's just the perfectionist in me, was just at the time, just like, oh, like why, or what could you do better? Like what would make you feel better? Like what would you prefer to do in that? Or yeah, just sort of just reflect on everything. Ask myself a million questions.
And
So yeah.
overall beneficial? Especially if you want to get good at something.
Yeah.
I can't see a better way than being able to reflect on it.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. I think being a perfectionist is like terrible though. I think.
Perfectionist, yes. There has to be some kind of accepting
Yeah,
that you won't
exactly.
get quite there. Yeah.
Exactly. I think with football, being a perfectionist, like that was like it was almost crippling for me. Like it got to the point where I didn't want to make a mistake, so I wouldn't put myself in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's literally got to. So there's times where I would reflect like people be like, oh, like why are you being such a pussy? Like especially in England, they're like just get on the ball, like just keep getting on the ball. Like I'd get on the ball and like do something really like see, but then I was like, oh, like I'm too scared. Like it's crippling that. Like I don't want to like taint that image of myself because I just did something unreal. Like did a half turn, sprayed it, got it back, got a shot off. But then I'm like, I don't want to try something similar again, just to make myself look like a bad player. So like keeping this image of like I was like perfect player was like crippling at the same time.
Yeah.
Which yeah, it ate away at me as well. So trying to get rid of that was a very hard thing.
Yeah, counterintuitively, it's not actually that beneficial to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's better off. You're better off being the one who's willing to get on the ball and okay to make little mistakes, but you just keep going up for it.
Exactly, yeah. And
Especially young. I reckon young. That's like
definitely.
huge.
Yeah. And trying to always compare. I think that's a big killer.
Mm.
Like trying to compare yourself to someone is just so, like I say now, it's just so pointless. Like everyone's literally got their own trajectory in life, and every experience is going to be different for someone else, and their perspective, it's going to be different. So comparing yourself like, oh, he's so much better than me, or he's got this and I don't, like you're just digging yourself a hole.
Do you think it's useful to compare yourself to people who are doing things you want to do though, where you'll compare and see, okay, I'm here, they're here. Is there anything they're doing that I can implement into myself or what I'm doing to improve myself? Do you think it's possible to do that and then not beat yourself up for not already being at that level?
Mm.
Like almost like see them as a mentor where you can learn
Yeah.
from, but recognizing they're just ahead of me in this process. I can get there if I do the right things.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I'd compare, like, I guess obviously it's still comparing, but I'd still call it more like you look at them like as a mentor or role model. So you wouldn't be like we're on the same playing field. We know they're better than us, or they're not better in any sense, but they're doing something a little bit better than you are, or they've, I don't know, got a method that sort of works for them and it's got them this far, and then the proof's in the pudding because they're where they are now because of obviously what they've done in their experiences. So sort of like being a sponge and grabbing what they did, or try and compare it to someone else, like corroborate it and be like, oh well, they sort of did the same thing, so there must be some sort of like median that they're both doing that I can implement that will work.
I heard Alex Harmozy and Chris Williamson talking about this on a podcast recently, where Harmozy was saying that the difference between like successful people and unsuccessful people is you've all got access to the same information, but the successful person knows what of that information to extract out and implement into themselves.
Yeah.
And making that or doing that more consistently is better off than just like comparing everything. They're able to just extract out the important bits of advice or important bits of what that person's doing that I'm not. And doing that over and over again is probably the most important thing when it comes to being successful than just being able to retain everything that's thrown at you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to work that. But when that come part of like being a bit self-aware and reflecting on what's being said?
I think it has to be. This is why I think self-awareness is actually it's a superpower if you're able to keep it in check enough not to become overly self-conscious and always in a pit of despair over what you're not doing right.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's what I'd take that as, just like knowing what's being said and what actually would be useful. Like sort of like differentiating and navigating your way through, which I think that's a skill that you just got to sort of, it's just trial and error. And I feel like a lot of things are trial and error. You take advice, you try it. Oh, that didn't work for me. Maybe I did it a bit wrong. Like you sort of reflect each time on it, or work out if it's pointless or not, if it's actually beneficial to yourself. So yeah, I would say.
To your point before, that's why perfectionism's so hard, because then the fear of failure prevents you from taking on these things that might cause a failure. That is actually more valuable to do than not do. Yeah,
exactly.
And I had a similar thing, not necessarily perfectionism, but the fear of failure for a long time.
Yeah,
like you just wouldn't put yourself out there because God, I get rejected, or I wouldn't do well at this, and then I'm not even going to try because it gives me the excuse of I didn't try.
Yeah,
that is so much more crippling than making mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so easy to fall into that mindset. Like it is so easy. And especially in like the world we live right now, it's so polarized. Like you see everything is so much better than like what your life is. Like and then like all the algorithms for like social media like put you in a little box, and you're like, oh, wow, these people are amazing. Like why can't I be like them? Then they're like, oh, maybe I could do that. They're human. They're like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, and so you sort of live your life through someone else. So it's so easy to just be scared to go out and do things.
Do you intentionally limit how much of that stuff you consume, or do you find yourself scrolling a little bit more than you wish you were?
I'm very limited with my social media. I don't know, even like I'm super strict with, if it's not going to benefit me, I'm not going to sort of do it. Like obviously it's nice that just sometimes you catch yourself just like going through Instagram. Like you've actually got like, sometimes you just want to relax, but then my head after 5 minutes like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? So like sometimes I'd go to like we can work on weekends as well. So I'll go into work on weekends. So I'm like, I can go make money instead of just like obviously it's not very fun but I'm making money instead of just looking at my phone and watching people make money or talk about making money. Like just take action, just do something like that's useful instead of just sitting there absorbing someone else doing well.
Yeah, so you limit how much. You're not
Yeah.
looking at it much. That's a conscious decision. You've
Yeah.
thought about why you don't do that?
Yeah, 100%. I always catch myself out like when I'm watching YouTube or something. Like I'll watch it before I'm going to sleep because in that moment I can't actually do anything more for myself than just trying to put myself to sleep because that's beneficial for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the times where I'd be like, have a bit of leeway with going on my phone.
Oh, so it like calms you down right before sleep.
Yeah,
It,
exactly.
Like, takes your mind off what you're actually thinking about.
Yeah, it's a bit like white noise and stuff like that. It'll just numb your brain as it does. Yeah, no. I don't know why. I just feel like I have the need to just constantly do things. Like just constantly just hunger to do stuff.
I feel like it's the default too. Like you have a need to be like focusing or doing something for most people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have just allowed to get distracted enough where you're convincing yourself that going on your phone and doing that is doing something. So it's like sedating that actual drive to go do anything more beyond that.
Yeah, exactly. And well, even like people like putting like clips of podcasts on there, like, and you're like, oh, you know, like I'm learning something at the same time. Like, no, you're not. You guarantee after 5 scrolls, you're not going to remember what was said.
Yeah.
Like they're like trying to like convince themselves. And I know so many people that just sit on their phones. I'm working in an office job. So all the boys in the office, but like you notice they have to have like 3 things running at once. Like they have to be constantly like stimulated. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like there, like they'll have like a movie going on, music playing, doing their work, and then a phone call might come in, and they have to quickly rush to do it. I'm like, just focus in on like these small things, and like the rest will work out. But I don't know. That leads into the other topic. Do you feel like a lot of people now are overly diagnosed with ADHD?
I think a lot of it is like you said. It's just we need to have 3 things going on at once, and I think that is kind of cultural, or we're brought up doing it because I recognize the exact same thing in myself from like 17 to 23.
Yeah.
Like I would sit down, I would play Xbox, I would have a movie going on at the same time. So at the very least, I had those 2 super stimulating things going on.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there would be music playing at the same time where you got 3 things going on. So I think whether it's overly diagnosed, I don't know. I don't know enough about exactly. I know what goes into a diagnostic process, but there's a good book on it called, there's a few. There's a good one that's up there. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. He talks a little bit about this in terms of social media causing certain kind of issues.
Yeah.
But more so, I think it's a book by Jean Twenge where she just draws all these correlations between the introduction of like, and I think a lot of it is social media.
Yeah.
Social media entering or becoming more used than not with teenage girls, teenage boys. So when 12, 13-year-olds started getting access to it, and all the uptick in all these different kind of anxiety-related issues.
Yeah.
So she talks about it a lot, and I think a lot of what's happening is developmentally, the kids are growing up, and even us at our age, we're engaging with so much stimulus.
Yeah.
And so much of it being short form stimulus. Yeah. Where we're losing the ability to be able to focus in on things for long periods of time. This is why I was drawn to doing a podcast, but I've been drawn to long podcasts. Yeah. Where I don't care about a clip from a podcast so much. The only utility ever that a clip for a podcast gives me is, okay, that's an interesting topic. I hope they delve into more. I'll go watch the whole thing of that.
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of it, I think, is you become what your exposure young is going to dictate a lot of your behavioral patterns. Yeah. And a lot of the habits you form.
Definitely.
So like we give 12-year-olds, and we didn't notice at the time, you give a 12-year-old a smartphone. Yeah. Their attention span's going to take a huge hit. Yeah. If they're constantly on social media looking at 1 to not even like 10-second to 1-minute clips. Exactly. Yeah. And you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Yeah. And on top of that, those things are designed based on pokie machines. Oh, so, yeah. So the scroll, drag down and push up.
Yeah.
That's literally mimicked off the same people who invented the poker machine to get
Yeah.
adults hooked on gambling money. Same thing getting kids hooked on taking their attention.
Which is insane.
So I do think,
Yeah.
whether it's overprescribed, a lot of people over self-prescribe themselves having ADHD,
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, I have it. It's like, put your phone down for a month. Don't go on social media for a month.
Yeah.
Try to just focus on one thing, and your brain will probably start going back to what it knows it can do.
Yeah.
Which is paying attention to things for a long period of time. So yeah, I don't think it's as prevalent, or if it is as prevalent, it's fixable through
Yeah.
longer forms of attention and less of this.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Driving to work, driving around, like you see kids at a bus stop,
Oh,
12 of them, and they're all looking down, scrolling. And
Yeah.
you're thinking, are we going to have like socially inept people growing up? Because
yeah.
they're a crowd of 12 kids. Usually, like even when I was a kid, not that long ago, you would just talk to someone around you and just make a friend or just
Yeah.
have some kind of communication with them
Yeah. 100%.
instead of just being in your own isolated world.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like I think there's all kind of issues coming from
Yeah.
overexposure to short-term content,
Yeah.
especially in your developmental years. But again, it'd be the default for most people your age and probably even my age, so like 30 and 24, most people,
Yeah.
as soon as they have a moment, the phone's out and you're looking at it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I do have to battle with it. Every time I get a moment,
Yeah.
the thought is pull out the phone.
Yeah.
But
Right.
thankfully, I'm self-aware enough where most of the time I push that down
Yeah.
because I spent too many years from 17 to 25 probably giving into that. So I now just have to battle it every single time because that's so ingrained in me now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but self-awareness is where you actually start to think, well, no, I know I shouldn't do this. I have to stop. So you have to win a micro battle every single time you get a brief moment. But I would rather have that. I would rather have that self-awareness. Yeah, I think it's crazy. I'm guessing you see the same thing as what I've said.
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah, but well, that's the thing. I think Chris Williamson said on his podcast, like even down to like social interactions, just so minimal now. Even like the average age of a virgin now is increasing. It's like 24 now. I'm pretty sure.
Was that like an American? Because I know it's different in different countries. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I think it's American
yeah. Or Western world even. They sometimes group all of them in. Yeah,
which is insane. Like, go out there and party. Like, as soon as you turn 18, go out and party. And that's like, I talked to my boss about this. I'm like, because we insure like nightclubs and stuff like that. Where will nightclubs be in 10 years if no one's going out and actually socially interacting, or even bars?
Yeah, pubs. Yeah,
like they all start falling through. Like it'll be like our generation and above that will keep them alive because you want to go down, get a drink, and like socialize with your mates or whoever. But anyone younger than us, don't do it. Like I notice like just with younger people, like they just don't talk, or like whenever like group settings, like I just put my phone away. Like it's like I don't have the like I've told myself now, like don't even have the urge to just look at it. Just keep it down and just like observe what everyone's sort of doing. And then as soon as one person brings the phone up, bang, you got like 6 other people bring their phones up. And just like, fuck, you've got your mate right across you haven't seen for months. And you could just chat about anything and just pick up where you left off last time you spoke to them. But no, you're just going to like indulge on like a phone. It's like no benefit to you, or just like hearing another person's story, or just, just interacting. I feel like humans just, like it's so fulfilling when you talk to someone. And then after like, you think about like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Like they're a really cool person. Like I didn't realize that about them. Like there's so much to learn about each other, and there's so much like knowledge out there or wisdom that you can just, tap into or just ask people. Like that might like steer you in the right direction or help you navigate like, no, fuck that. I don't want to do that. It's beneficial for yourself, and it makes you feel good as well. And it would make the other person feel good, I assume.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's just crazy. People just don't have that skill.
I think we bonded over this point when we worked together, like in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
You were the only other person who wouldn't have their phone.
Yeah.
So we started playing chess eventually.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right towards the end of the time we worked together. But yeah, I would notice it. Like there was a point where I was listening to enough stuff. Like I was very heavy into the psychology stuff.
Mm.
And I was like, why? Like everyone's on their phone at lunch.
Yeah.
Every single person. It's like everyone's fine when they're working. They're not really using the phone. As soon as they get into the lunchroom, phone's out. And you look at it and it looks like it's like, they're like getting their fix.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, this is, of course, that's an addictive behavior. It's
Yeah.
literally you're getting your fix. It's the smoker going out for a cigarette and going,
Yeah,
sweet relief,
exactly.
I've got my fix again. It's amazing, but
Is it relief though, or would you say it's like numbing, like their reality?
yeah, well, it's
Yeah, yeah,
sedative, it's
yeah,
sedating, like,
yeah, yeah,
but I think it's relief from thinking.
yeah.
It's
So
relief from your internal thoughts. Like
the numbness
I
of it.
need, I don't want to think about things. I don't want to process. My mind's going too far. Let me just sedate myself, and it's not conscious. Like people aren't thinking like
Yeah,
this necessarily, but it's become the default because it switches over to where it's now. Oh my God, I've got a spare moment. I need my phone. Oh my God,
mm,
I need my phone. It's the behaviors mimic that of like an addictive substance.
yeah,
It's wild, and seeing kids like that, I'm like, oh, that's so deadly. Because
yeah,
like even when you're out, when you go out to dinner, if you're a parent, you go out to dinner, you've got your kid there, they're young,
yeah,
putting a phone in front of them
yeah,
to distract them.
yeah,
It makes it easier for you to have a conversation. You know, you
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
peace,
yeah,
everything's cool.
yeah,
But what most people don't understand is that they're doing a lot of their learning about social interactions
yeah,
when they're too young to conceptualize what's going on. So when you're going out to dinner and there's a little kid there,
yeah,
if they're on their phone, they're zoned out of the world. They're not learning how adults socially interact with each other.
yeah,
So like if they're there bored, but kind of seeing what's going on, or even drawing because it's not taking up all of their emotional. It's not as all investing or
yeah,
whatever, all consuming as being on a phone. There's something different about the chemistry of looking at that screen. But even if they're drawing that, they're picking up on the social cues of what's going on. They're
mm,
vicariously learning how to socialize with grown adults.
yeah,
But then on top of that, if the grown adults are also on their phones at dinner, they're on their phones at dinner.
yeah,
Like I do worry about, like you said, like all these places where people go to meet in
yeah,
person.
exactly.
Are they going to be here forever? I hope people are becoming aware enough. There's enough content out there. But
Yeah,
maybe it's just my algorithm that shows me the stuff
yeah,
that's telling you like why you shouldn't be doing this. But it's hugely developmentally
yeah,
impairing to have a kid, a toddler on the phone when in a social setting.
yeah,
Because they are literally picking up on the social cues even if they don't know it
yeah,
from
definitely.
how you interact. So they're learning from you, from what you do. So
Mm,
I've made it a point too. Like we've tried to, because we can get lazy with this sometimes as parents. Like we can get lazy where me and my partner, will have our phone out when we're at home and
yeah,
we'll zone out for a few minutes when the kids are around. But we've made it a point now. It's like, no, we know that they're watching us and they're just going to adopt that behavior and think that's normal. And they're going to start doing it themselves. Like, no, now whenever we're around the kids, unless we need it for something important, the phone stays away.
mm,
Like, you don't want anything in there that's going to draw them into associating phone with one, relaxing, like phone
yeah,
peace, phone all the time. Like,
exactly. Yeah,
because they're picking up on these connections
yeah,
from every interaction with them. Is like a little bit of feedback for them. They're taking it in,
yeah,
even if they're
exactly.
not virtually seeing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just
It's crazy.
find
It's
that
crazy.
it's just crazy how like these big players in the world like can keep like feeding on this, like just keep feeding on people like psychological like human behavior just
Mm.
to keep tailoring so they can make more money.
I think,
It's so I find that so like crook like it's
yeah,
just
Australia's doing something about it in terms of, I believe they are forcing social media companies to verify age, maybe come the end of the year. So you have to be at least 16, which is a good step
yeah,
in the right direction. Because
yeah,
I'm not usually for like overly policing
right,
overreaching from regulatory bodies. But
yeah,
when it comes to this with kids, I think it's important to ensure that as few get access to social media early
yeah,
as
definitely.
possible.
That's fair.
Like
Yeah,
even 16 is probably too young. Like even 25 is too young to be like addicted to it. But because of where your how your brain develops,
mm,
like right in that puberty zone, that is a very important point.
yeah, definitely.
And there are so many ailments that come with social media exposure so young, especially if you become obsessed with it.
Mm, that's true. Well, when you would have experienced as well, you probably would have been like 16 at the time when Facebook first came out. And you have to be like 13 and above to
Mm.
actually sign up. Well, obviously, I lied because I wanted to
Yeah,
pay. My
everyone
sisters had,
lied.
yeah, everyone like, oh, yeah, how are they going to check?
They did it. That's right. Yeah.
But even like the interactions then with Facebook, there was no posting much. It was just like about yourself, or like you were just doing it to text mates, or like you weren't with them. You like make a status with them. You're like, oh, like when are we going to see each other next, and all that stuff. Like the interaction was a lot different to what it is now. Like I feel like, oh, you're sending a reel to a mate. Like that's us interacting. Like, oh, like, oh, you should watch this or something. Like, but it's not like a real interaction. Like if you're there in person, like, oh, I watched something that you would actually might like watch this. At least like you're sharing that experience together. You're bonding over that. And they're like, oh yeah, like that's pretty cool. Or, like, oh, maybe we should do that. And like, yeah, I just think there's no actual motion by just like sending people stuff now. And there's just more videos, just easy to get lost in it.
Yeah.
The use is just so different to what it was when I didn't say I used Facebook on the age of 13. But yeah, no.
I don't think that's a crime. I think that's all right. Yeah. It's more them for not vetting it properly, which is the actual issue. But it's one of those things too where there was a huge moral panic when TVs and stuff came out. People started to worry, oh my God, it's going to corrupt the minds of kids.
Yeah.
But the difference with a lot of TV is it's not right in your face, you're fully engaging with the thing alone. A lot of TV experience for kids is watching with their family.
Exactly.
So TV is not as bad because it's more communal in terms of you're sharing an experience with the people around you.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you've got headphones in, you're locked into a screen right in front of you. You're the only thing that matters in that world. It's you. You're not really. There's no social aspect to it.
Definitely.
So it's a different thing, and people. It's hard to. I mean, it's hard because I think people themselves are addicted to it, so it's hard to see the problem in it or not willing to, because it's become so ingrained in life.
And it's a social norm as well. Like,
it's the norm.
Everyone else goes on their phone. Like,
right.
why can't I go on my phone? Okay, like I'm not controlling you. Do whatever you want, but I'm sitting here willing to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like the older I've got, the more I want to, talk to more people. Have that sense of like a community. Like you want to like, if I could help someone out, or if they could help me out, or if I can just talk to them to see what I can sort of take out of it. Like it's awesome to hear other people's stories, even if it might not be from like adversity, or it could just be like they have a simple life. Like, oh, maybe I'm trying to achieve that simple life. What did you do to get to that? And does that fulfill you? I can work out what fulfills other people. Because I feel like most of the things that fulfill each human are basically the same stuff. And it's just like how people sort of get there and how they worked it out themselves. Like I think that's like the beauty of their journey. It's just so that people miss out because they go on their phone.
Yeah.
It's just so easy. I love doing it with like Uber drivers, like especially because most of them are like immigrants, or like they've moved, like they migrated over here from like Africa or Asia or wherever. I always ask them like oh, where you from? Like it's always, I feel like do a standard chat, like, oh, like how's your night been, blah blah blah, and then I'll go like, oh, where are you from? Like have a genuine chat, and then just talk to them and just realize like they're so grateful to be in Australia, but so many people just take that opportunity. Like being raised in Australia, you don't realize how good it is. I think that element of moving to like England and seeing like how much of a shithole it was.
That's amazing. England is that big a difference to here.
Oh yeah.
Even like I would just in my head think England very similar to Australia. The difference in terms of opportunity. Yeah. So many people in such a small space. Yeah.
So like, and then it makes me feel grateful for like, it's not like I'm using them or thinking I'm above them. It's just like I listen to their story and see if I can help them out. Like they're like, oh, I don't know how to get insurance for my car. Like just say something like that. Like, oh, like you just go on a website, you just like use these. Oh, I recommend this. Like actually like help them out, because it could change their life, or just that conversation could just make him like, oh, like that makes me a bit happier. Like I'm being recognized as well.
As a human being.
Yeah.
Being recognized.
Exactly. And like they're obviously struggling. So like, yeah, if you can help them out, and I feel like that's very fulfilling. Like just those small little moments where you can just have a conversation, see how hard their life was or why they did it. And then obviously you can work out they moved to Australia for a better life, because Australia is like one of the best countries in the world and there's so much opportunity. And then hear what their perspective is on the other side of being on their demographic, like, and what they sort of struggle with. Then I'm like, well, if I can be open-minded about it, maybe like get knowledge from it, because maybe I do like have tendencies to be a bit racist towards it, or, judge a book by its cover early. And I'm like, oh wait, like that makes sense why they're like that, And then like telling other people, because people can be just so narrow-minded.
Mm.
And it's so easy to be in a bubble in Australia as well, especially if you go to a private school or you're a public school or you live in a little bit of a nice area, but some people don't. It's so easy to be in a bubble and all you know is good around you, but at like 20 minutes down the road, it's not as good. But you would never think about it and you just judge them instantly or just, talk shit about them. So, yeah, no, that's like the point of life I'm sort of coming to is just finding like small things very fulfilling, like the very, very small things.
Your innate desire to understand why, and that translates to, why are you like this?
Yeah.
What's your experience? Not just what can I learn from it, but it's genuinely interesting to hear other people's takes on life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the premise of this show is like almost anyone who can talk, like you can have a good conversation with.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting story in there.
Exactly.
It's just for a lot of people, one, no one's ever given them the space to tell an interesting story.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So no one's ever given the space or shown the interest.
Yeah.
Like these long chats. And again, part of the reason I want to do this is because I don't have enough just one-on-one long chats with people. And I find it so interesting and so fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because you can't learn everything about someone in like a 2-3 hour conversation, but you can learn a lot. And it can be a really good experience and a reminder that, oh, wait, we can do this. We can just sit down and talk to someone for 2 hours.
Exactly.
And it's not like we're pulling out hair. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's just, and I think a big thing is trying to not convince, but try and make people aware, like to be a bit more open-minded about things. You can have your views. I don't care what your views are, but like you're willing to have a conversation, to just sort of talk it out. We might be on the other side of the spectrum of like what we agree and disagree on our beliefs, but at least we can sort of come to a meaning and like understand why you think like that. But I feel like everyone's it's just so easy. It is very easy to be narrow-minded because ignorance is bliss sometimes with things. It is very easy to be like that.
And the way what most people consume is structured is to just show you things you're already interested in.
Exactly.
So it creates the echo chambers where you're not taking in, you might be taking in the other perspective, but not the positive interpretation of the other perspective. You're just seeing everything that's wrong with it. And then you're like, oh yeah, I agree with that. They're idiots. What are they doing over there? Like, being able to actually talk to people who have that perspective, realizing, oh, that's just a person like me. They just have veered this way. Why have they veered that way? Oh, let's ask some questions and figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll even find mutual ground on some things. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's just a person who has a different perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're still valuable and useful as a person. I'm interested. I'm having a good time.
Exactly. And people just the world's crazy at the moment.
It's tough.
It's reality that I feel like everything's harsh. But I'd prefer to have a world like this than 120 years ago. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's also a thing where people start to romanticize about.
Yeah, exactly.
God, it was easy. Even 30, 40 years ago. Oh God, it must have been easy. Yeah. It's like they had less distraction.
Yeah.
It wasn't easier.
No.
It's harder to get things. We take for granted the fact that we can get our phone out, order food. It's here right now.
Yeah.
We can go to the shop and there's everything we need plus 150 things we don't need. Exactly. We have such access to every base need.
Yeah.
No wonder we worry about things we shouldn't, because everything that we have historically worried about is catered for.
Exactly.
So we're just trying to outsource that desire for, or outsource that anxiety of finding the right meal or finding the shelter into anything else we can get our hands on.
Exactly. And that's why I always think like realistically, like right now in the world, in Australia, or maybe this is what I just think of myself, is that there's not actually that much pressure for survival. Like obviously you just need to get a job and make money. But you can do that. Obviously people that migrate over, it's obviously a bit harder, but there's not much pressure in the world like there used to be to just survive.
Oh, even survival in Australia, even if you don't have a job and stuff, like
you're
provided with enough to survive. You're provided enough to survive. So you're right. Survival's taken care of, essential.
Yeah, and like you got like the world at your oyster. The world at your oyster. Like at your feet. Sorry, not oyster. That's the wrong thing.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah, the world is your oyster. I thought I said it backwards, but yeah, no. So like you can go do whatever you want. Like, and you've got the comfortability back in Australia. Like you can do whatever you want with yourself, have a crack and then come back like, oh, you know what, that didn't work. Who cares? I should go get on Centrelink, or in the meantime, then go get a job. Like and obviously, I think older you get, the factors a bit more if you've got a family and stuff like that, and bills and
It
overheads
limits
like that.
what you can do. But
Exactly, and I think that's I'm not neglecting that part of it. I'm not saying like, oh, it's so easy to just go do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like when you're young, you take risks. Like it's just so easy to, but people are just too scared to take that action.
Which is interesting because in like developmental psychology, it's understood that you provide your, say, toddler
Yeah,
with a secure place
yeah,
where they can explore freely. So you just take care of the base security needs,
yeah,
and it opens them up to explore the world
yeah,
and take risks,
Yeah.
knowing that the absolute worst case scenario won't happen.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we, as a culture, have kind of taken care of a lot of that base need for the security and the safety.
yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah,
There's still risk, but it's pretty good. So you
Yeah.
have that flexibility to go out, extend yourself, fail, and come back and still be okay.
yeah,
But a lot of us still aren't doing that.
yeah,
I wonder where the divides go through, because
yeah,
maybe that's only useful developmentally as a child to learn how to take risks, and then later on you just start to be more comfortable with risks.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe too many of us have just grown up comfortably and we don't know what it's like to push ourselves.
And it's easy to. I think it's so easy to be comfortable. Like it's easy to just not be content. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people would be content with their lives. Like,
But they're comfortable enough with
Yeah,
they're
they're
not going to push
comfortable.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know what? It doesn't actually matter. I'm making this much money a week. Like it's working, but it's stressful. But like, I'm not going to go take a risk. Especially young people. This is more like aimed at young people. Like you're talking like 24 to 18 to 24, or even like 16 to, because you can go drop out of school and come and get an apprenticeship, or you can go get a job. Like you can start making money. Like take those risks between there.
It's basically translatable to anyone before they have kids.
Yeah,
Like literally any age
Yeah.
before you have kids, you can
Yeah.
literally drop anything and go try to pursue something
100%.
something that needs all of your attention or a lot of it for at least a short period of time. And then when you have kids, you can still, the only thing kids will do is, okay, you're no longer the most important thing. They're the most important thing. But for me, it increased my capacity to work by double.
Yeah,
Like it opened my eyes to like I could actually kind of work all the time to make sure they're okay. It just reframes your capacity within yourself to work hard.
Yeah,
Because like some people need that. I was one of the ones who needed
yeah,
to go through that to understand, oh, I actually can do a lot more than I'm doing right now.
yeah,
So it increases your capacity to learn. It increases your capacity to think outside of yourself. Like I'm working more, but yes, I'm benefiting, sure, but the offspring are benefiting more from having a
Yeah.
competent father.
exactly. Yeah,
So it's like, oh, I need to be competent now. I can't be useless.
yeah,
And I would hope it happens probably more people than not.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people it doesn't. They just continue with the comfortable bare minimum. It's okay, whatever, that's fine.
yeah,
But for me, I needed some kind of a moment like that to switch.
yeah, exactly.
I needed that, like, oh, you're a father now.
Yeah,
Rein it in, brother. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You've been in cruise control till right now.
yeah,
You can do double what you're doing.
yeah,
And you can still see them. You can still pay attention to them. And everyone's going to benefit from you being a more productive person in society.
yeah,
So that's one extreme. That's a positive extreme, having a kid.
Yeah.
But that kid shakes up your whole world.
Yeah.
The other thing is like it getting so bad that you can no longer tolerate whatever's going on. Like I feel
for
like
sure.
you need something like that for a lot of people to actually trigger them to
yeah,
strive for a little bit more. It's either got to be you're completely deprived of something, whether it's just satisfaction in life or
yeah,
it's no longer comfortable for whatever reason,
yeah,
or you have this huge influx of responsibility, which is having a family or something like that, which you need
Yeah.
some kind of trigger point to motivate you to pursue more. For
Yeah.
a lot of people, it'd be great if everyone could understand that.
yeah, exactly.
It's easier when you don't have the responsibility to do
Yeah.
this. You just put it on yourself, but it's so difficult.
Yeah, no,
It can be
definitely.
so difficult if it's not like hardwired in or innately in you.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people that are like, oh no, like I work hard, like I just do it to make ends meet and go travel, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, when you have kids, like, do you reckon you'd be like set up like career wise? Like, oh no, like I feel like having a kid will give me more motivation to like, it's more of a reason why to keep going. And I was like, okay, like fair enough. And my perspective is the complete opposite, is like risk it all now, sacrifice now. So when I do have kids, is I can be there for like every bit of moment, like teach them how to ride a bike, or pick them up from school, like because like I think those like would make those kids' days, like seeing like oh dad's gonna pick me up, or dad's dropping me off, and like I worked enough early enough in my like younger years that way I can sort of have that bit of freedom, and which it sucks, and that's why I sort of like hate money, where you have to work so hard just to buy yourself a bit of freedom. So yeah, no, I just look on the opposite perspective, but maybe that's just because of like how I was brought up. So that's like a strong reason why for me to do it the opposite way.
I think though, if I had the insight before I had the kids of like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll work harder when I have them because it's going to be mean. If I knew that before then,
yeah,
I would have done it before then. Like,
exactly.
I needed that point to even get to the inside of like, oh no, I need to work hard to make sure they're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That was me needing that trigger point to even actually wake up.
Yeah,
But I mean, no matter what you've got, it's better to have like if you have enough resource when you have the kids,
yeah,
like you're a little bit less stressed
yeah.
than otherwise. But no matter what you've got when you have kids, they change your whole world.
Oh yeah, I
Like
bet.
even if you have everything, like
Yeah.
they throw a wrench into it, and no matter what you've got, everything's gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of it, is like you just don't know.
Mm.
And I think it would be one of the greatest feelings, like having a kid, and you come home and they're like running to the door to like give you a hug. I think that would be one of the most like one of the moments where I'll be like, oh, like I've done it in life. I've done my part here. Like, but then obviously you still got like another like 20 plus years where you got to like grow with them. But yeah, I think just having that freedom to like sort of teach them, and then not have that stress of like worrying about like money or anything or resources. But Australia's fine. Like you'd always be fine. But yeah, and I don't think a big conversation I have with like my mates and everyone is inheritance.
Mm.
And my stance on inheritance, I don't know what yours might be, is that I don't think I'd give inheritance as much money as I have. Like I generally wouldn't. So my perspective is that while I'm alive, if I just like I would just imagine that I've done well, I'm successful. So while they're alive, I'll give them the greatest opportunities. Like I obviously want my kids to, do well, like prevail, like take risks, or do things like, or live their dream, at least like try. Because like I had a crack and it helped shape myself, so I can understand, or like how fulfilling it is to go chase a dream and live it. So I'd provide all the opportunities, try not to show obviously that we've got money, so they're not become like reliant that like, okay, if I like fuck up, that there's money there, or I can be a bit of a bum, be a bit lazy, that I can just rely on like mom and dad. So like while I'm alive, I would help them, but I think after I pass, I wouldn't give them any inheritance, because I should have given them the best opportunity to set themselves up, because they should be like, oh, touch wood that I live to like a solid amount of years where I can see them like have a family. So yeah, I don't think inheritance, because some people like, I think some people deny it, but it's always as a joke, saying like, I'm going to get inheritance. And I just think, oh, like you're just waiting for a moment.
Yeah, no,
Like, and it turns people into green-eyed monsters. Like money is insane for like inheritance. Like, oh no, but I should get this part. Like, no, you're not in. Like, I get they're your parents, but you shouldn't really be entitled. They worked their balls off to get this, and they gave you opportunity while you're alive. Like that should have been enough, like formula, to go work out how they did it. Like that's all I would want to provide, is the knowledge and the wisdom, if I do well, of how to do it. Like here's the blueprint. You can do the exact same, but I'm not going to give you my money.
I'm aligned very much with you in terms.
Oh,
of
really?
Yeah. I have the same mindset. Whereas, or very similar, where if a kid knows they're going to just come into all this money,
Yeah.
maybe they're intrinsically super motivated, and it doesn't matter. 95% of them are not going to be like that. Like they know that money's coming.
Yeah.
That's all they're thinking about. You're at least capping their
Yeah.
potential for them to work hard and drive.
Exactly.
You're capping their drive. So I definitely like not a huge sum of money at 18, not a huge sum of money at 21. Like
Yeah.
not going to be doing those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like you said, like give them all the opportunities to pursue a sport, pursue whatever it is they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Best school we can get them into, that's where they're going to go. All those kind of
Yeah.
things, absolutely. But when it comes to just money,
Yeah.
like I'm at the point where I don't know, I'll probably charge them rent when they're living at their like even if it's not like what they would be paying in rent, but once you start working, which is as soon as you finish school at least,
Yeah.
maybe before school, it depends on how academically focused they are.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're the kind of kid who's really on the trajectory of becoming a doctor or something. Like I'm not going to make them work in school necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah.
I still don't know that. Maybe I will because I do think there's some work ethic in there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very much. I'll facilitate them in their education and things like this, but they're not. As soon as they're an adult, they're an adult.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to learn. Okay, you're working. You're going to start paying your bills.
Exactly.
And I want that from as early as possible. Because I think it sets the foundation for them to understand the value of money.
Yeah, 100%.
And it gives them the best intrinsic ability to do well for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I understand, like a lot of people will do it, and it's not a bad strategy because they end up with houses and stuff where they don't charge their kids rent. It's a very Greek thing. Like I'm anti-Greek for saying this, or anti-ethnic parent for saying this right now. My mum's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh my god, what have I done? I didn't make him pay rent. What's he talking about?" But I do care more about instilling those intrinsic values in them, and I think it'll be a better job.
Yeah,
I'll do a better job at it if they are not expecting me to hold their hand through everything.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't set that bar or that expectation for them. It comes from when they're young.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get this doll. Like, no, like we can't. Like,
that's
right.
Can't
I don't know, to have a hissy fit. Like, you can't just cave in that.
100%. I already,
yeah.
I'm already enacting it from now. It's like you don't just get what you want because you want it in the moment.
Exactly.
If it's your birthday, you get presents. If it's a certain occasion, we'll get things. But not every time you ask, you're going to get it from me. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here if anything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Complete catastrophe. Yeah, I'm going to make sure you don't fall so far you've crippled yourself completely.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have that baseline better than someone who doesn't have parents, right? Like you've got that. You got that little bit of security. I'll help you out of complete desperation.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the one just facilitating everything.
Yeah.
These are tough choices to make, and it's at the time. I hope I've still got the mindset I do now. Who knows? Yeah. But I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to certain things, and I think this is one of them.
Yeah, it caused a lot of debates.
Oh yeah, everyone I've said to this to is like shocked.
But like I listened to their side, and I think the one part that I took out of it is that once you sort of pass and you do provide inheritance, that you're like giving your offspring like a better chance life to keep the wealth. So like they have the money to just keep making the generations and generations better.
Have you heard a statistic on that?
No.
I can't. God, I wish I had the source. But it was something like an inheritance lasts about 3 generations.
Yeah, actually.
By the third or fourth generation, it's completely zero.
Yeah,
because the people who get the inheritance, and this is to the point, they don't understand the value of that money because they didn't earn it themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like it's good for a couple of generations, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Which is wild, but like,
yeah, exactly.
But that's the default. There are the outliers who keep it for I don't know hundreds of years.
Yeah,
so probably big companies and stuff that have been around forever.
Yeah, which is
but it's only a couple of generations that inheritance lasts because you're then creating more kids who don't know how to handle that money and don't know what the value of it is.
Yeah, exactly. Just make them reset each generation, like reset of how they do things, and so they instilled with all those.
So you wouldn't even let them know you have the money. You wouldn't let them know how well off you are. Yeah,
I'd try. I get torn, and this is like some of the thoughts I have in the car. Like I hope I'm on the right trajectory. I'd like to think I am. I'm like, oh, like it'd be so cool to have like a nice car, but then I get torn where this is where the self-awareness sort of kicks in. Like I'll play my own devil's advocate.
Like, very valuable, by the way. It's good to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's common. That's good.
And I'm like, yeah, it'd be sick, and like you'd hate it after 2 weeks. Like the amount of things you bought, and like after like a couple times using it, like you're like, this is like it's nothing now. It's like just being materialistic. So that's why I'm like torn. I'm like, oh, it'd be so nice to get a real nice car. Like, especially like working in Newstead, you see like the Aston Martin Advantages and like for Ferrari 458s, Lamborghinis everywhere, and you're just like, fuck, that would be sick. And then I'm thinking like that would be so pointless. Like, and I always have the theory of like we're all born the exact same, we all die the exact same. You're not taking any more from life than like, oh, because I had an Aston Martin. No, you died. The next person literally has nothing else. Like you literally die the exact same. You're not known when you're dead that, oh, you had all this. Because you can't take it to your grave. It's actually just left in the world. So I find it pointless, like materials, like being materialistic for things.
Where's that insight come from? Because like you are on a trajectory saying where like you are in the process, you want to generate enough wealth so your family's secure and stuff, but you also don't want to be materialistic and buy things unnecessarily. So you got to drive for money, but not to buy shit like that. But where's this insight come from? Because that's very mature.
I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, like we couldn't get like everything we wanted. And like that's why I loved sports. Like it was so easy to go outside, just kick a ball, smash against the ball. And a ball cost you like $20. And then that would entertain me for so long. And then like having materialistic things, like it didn't make me feel any better. I still would lean going back outside and just literally play my PJs. I wouldn't care. Like I don't care how I look. I didn't need like sick boots. Like obviously I bought some, but even then I was like, this is pointless. Like they all do the exact same job. So I think just growing up, like getting stuff like when I could like get something that was nicer. Obviously, it's like a sort of like a memorable moment because it's like, oh, like I had enough to afford that. And then I just think like, well, that's the only sort of attachment to that material. That's the only sentimental value. Like the actual item itself was just pointless. Why would I spend $1,000 on that?
It's like a cue to your success and your discipline up until that point. It's just a reminder of that.
Yeah, and I can get like small sentimental stuff where you could be like, oh, like buying like you do really well. You buy one watch, like, and then like if you every time you look at it, like, oh, this is a good reminder. Like you didn't come from this, like you came from nothing. So like having sentimental things is a lot more valuable in my head than just sort of tainting that image and just having like 10 different watches. Like it takes away from that pureness of like, oh wow, I worked really hard. And so like, oh no, I'm just being a brat. I want another watch because I want to fit in and I want to be cool. I'm sort of chasing status. And yeah, I think that's where it is. So bit of a loop to get there, but it's like chasing the validation of other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's pointless because people might hate it, but I think people that buy like nice things, obviously some people do it because they worked hard, they train themselves, but constantly buying more and more nice stuff is just seeking validation from other people because you want to like have a bit of status about yourself or be known like, oh, they must be seeing like they're doing all right. Like you want an impression on someone else, and I find that pointless.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah, it's the, like you said, the status. The status, like, oh, he must be doing well. Wow. Yeah. He's got a nice car. Is that a Rolex? Nice watch. Wow, yeah. It's all cues to.
Well, this is the thing. And like, I feel like some people like come from church, like the big difference, people that were really wealthy, most normal people, and they dress the most, like you would never ever pick it. And then the people that they were like, they were rich, a lot higher than the middle class, in like wealth and money. But they sort of have to flaunt it. Like I'd like, why do you need to prove that you've got money?
Yeah.
That's validation, I think. And then you strip that back even to like materialistic, like end of the day, I think most humans are chasing just validation and recognition from other humans. And I think it's just like the system that's now in place is that there's materialistic things. And that's a good way to try and prove yourself in this world now.
Yeah, well, we've always played social games. Like there's always been social validation games even before we were super materialistic. Like
exactly.
Status hierarchy, it's all, and you would notice from talking about evolution and stuff, like evolutionary.
Yeah.
Like status is predicated on resource acquisition, which means you can provide for your family and stuff like that. But it's almost been hijacked by the need to have more cool things. Yeah. As opposed to just having the resources there so your family can just have access to the opportunities or the experiences that are going to be more fulfilling than the actual
Yeah.
nice thing.
And that plays back to that like natural pressure or natural selection. We just don't have it anymore.
Mm.
Like they were just so absorbed in
Yeah.
this random world where it's so materialistic and it's just so there's just no like natural selection anymore. Like we've completely removed natural selection, I'd say.
Well, the survival net. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like we've basically removed it now, which is
Yeah,
great. But
now everything's the other type of selection, the sexual selection, where you're just
Yeah.
displaying your wealth so you can acquire a better value mate. That's
Well, that's
that's a
actually
huge thing. That's
Yeah.
the other side of evolution is the sexual selection element, not survival of fittest,
Yeah.
but survival of who's got the most shit.
there was Do you ever see the Chris Williamson? Like he does like there's like
Probably.
3 weekly notes.
Oh yeah, he does his newsletters. Yeah, yeah.
And there was that one. I'm so certain it was him. It was like how like a female deems attractiveness and how a male does.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh, he said, yeah, he's big on evolutionary psych. Yeah, I've seen him talk about
Yeah.
it, but it's a phenomenon in like attraction psychology generally. But go on, explain it. Yeah.
Well, this is just my basis. That's what research suggests.
Yes.
As you say.
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
at very least an evolutionary psychology
Yeah.
perspective on attractiveness. Yeah.
that like I'll just dumb down that. So what the initial test was just 2 photos of like 2 males, 1 male, like really good looking in a male's perspective, shredded jack, like what a man, it's like ideal man sort of looks like, but he's just scruffy, not clean looking. And then the guy on the right's like a 6 out of 10, but he has a nice watch on and a nice car in the background. So they would ask like a group of men, like which guy's more attractive, and they'd choose like the guy that's muscly, good looking. And then girls would more lean towards the attributes of what the guy could provide, which obviously I can understand because they come from like more of a maternal sort of perspective. Like, who am I going to raise my offsprings with, and who will give my kids the best opportunity in life?
Yes.
Which I can understand, but it's just crazy how like I've had so many like debates with people like this, like about this topic, especially my girlfriend, like trying to like work out where like she stands with it, and then where I sort of stand with it, and like how we sort of just deem like, oh, he's more attractive. And if it was the other way around, like with like a female, we're like, oh, like she's pretty, even though like, I don't know, she looks like she's not put together. So yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, from the biological perspective, that's like the man will look for cues for fertility.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what is that going to be? It's going to be symmetry. It's going to be youthfulness.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
they've done studies also where they asked men from the age of like 13 to 70 to rank which of these people is the most attractive.
Yeah.
And they came to a consensus that the age of the people who, from every age group they measured in men, it universally fell around the age of 24, 25 as the age of the most attractive woman.
Yeah.
Which is right in the prime window of when a woman is most fertile.
Yeah.
So there are these innate cues or these innate instincts within us to find certain things attractive.
Exactly.
And then again, with the women to the men, it's not about the physical. Beyond a display of them being physically fit in terms of being healthy.
Yeah.
So if they were not deemed a super unhealthy physically, that's like a tick off.
Yeah.
And then it's capacity to either gather resources or having more resources. So like if you have a job where you're a lawyer, a doctor, some kind of finance where your potential to earn heaps of money is there, that's super attractive because that's a cue to you being successful and providing for my family longer on. And these are not conscious decisions necessarily.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are. Like your Greek mother will tell you, marry a man with money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Marry a man with money because like there are some cultural elements to it.
Yeah.
But innate within them, it's these evolved mechanisms to recognize what's going to help me and my kids. Me and my offspring survive the longest.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it makes sense. It makes sense from why there are differences, because the women carry more of the burden when it comes to like child rearing. Like
which is insane.
They hold it for 9 months, and they have to make sure that guy they've got with them is going to help them through that. Because even if you're working, even in our culture where you can take as little time off as possible, you still need someone there to help you through that. Even for that small period, it's much more beneficial for you, and you got a much better chance of doing well. So it's interesting. There are differences, and there are repeated studies showing that there are differences. And
it's good.
You can get into the weeds of it, where you can even looking at porn consumption.
Yeah, exactly.
Men watch more visually stimulating porn than women do.
Yeah.
Even though I think it's bridging a little bit now because just there's so much access to it.
Yeah.
But women are typically more interested in reading, smart books or
Yeah.
books that are
Colleen
like it's
Hoovers.
outright because it's just it's the emotional element of sex for them, and then it's the visual stimulus for the men,
Yeah.
and it's wild.
It's just crazy how we're so wide.
But it's intuitively true.
And we're all the
course.
exact same. It's so weird because we're all so simple, but yet simultaneously so complex at the same time. So it's just that's what I can't wrap my head around. That's what I like.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
That's like a wormhole that I end up in. It's just like we all sort of have the same actions or like want to work towards the same thing. Obviously, there's little variations. Well, that's what would make it the difference is the variations, which makes us complex. So that's a wormhole I get sometimes caught up on, and I'm just like, oh, fuck it off now. Like when I was younger, I'd think about it too much, and now I'm just like, why am I thinking like this? Just get lost. I just listen to some music instead.
Extract the utility of it. I haven't like you have. I still will get my head in the weeds and engage in the content. I find it too interesting.
Yeah,
but I find it so useful. So like there are different scales out where there are the broad truths, where most of the time this is a broad way we're veered into going.
Yeah.
And then from that you can hyper specialize in a certain area and like mimic it to suit your needs.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, develop some habits around it. Like to utilize and get the best out of it.
That's true, yeah.
That's where I think the value of it. You accept the broad truths of universally this is the most likely way to occur, and then you can hyper focus in on it. But you've got to acknowledge the broad truths first. Yeah. Because then if you're trying to fight against that so hard, like it's going to be so hard for you to do anything because you're going even more against what is broadly known. Yeah.
Just playing a game of tennis with yourself, basically. Which is insane. Do you feel like studying like psychology and always listening to like podcasts about it's easy to like deconstruct your thoughts?
It certainly helps me understand certain thought patterns I get into.
Yeah.
And it also allows me to recognize where I'm at a given moment because I'll hone in on different elements. So like when I was using my phone too much and I'm listening to podcasts, a few of them go on about it. Yeah. And then I'm hyper focusing on that and like, oh, this is detrimental to me in this way. Now I can apply what they're saying to help me with that. So I do try to
implement it. Yeah.
I do try to curate what I listen to sometimes too, where I'll click on something because I know it's probably going to benefit me. Yeah. I'll also use that if I know I'm avoiding something and I see a podcast pop up where it's a guest that's going to talk about that thing. Yeah. When I'm courageous, I'm like, fucking listen to that. Because I know if I listen to it, I'm going to start changing what I'm doing because I know I'm being an idiot. Yeah. So I do use it as cues for that, which I find super useful. Yeah. Like I fell out of motivation for going to the gym. Like when I moved here recently. Yeah. And then I saw Chris Williamson with Alex Harmozy 4-hour podcast. I'm like, if I listen to that, I'm going to get super motivated, get to do stuff. And I'm kind of chilling right now. The podcast. I'm convincing myself I'm doing enough. And I'm like, no, I'm going to listen to it. Yeah. And I listen to it. And I'm like, they're fucking right about a lot of things again. Let's start reining in a bit. So I'll use it. I'll use it in that way, which is so funny. I'm aware of it, but I'll still use that. Yeah.
But no, I feel like everyone, it's easy. Especially when you're self-aware, like, oh no, maybe I just need to use this to sort of push me along. But in your head, I probably should just do it.
That's right.
It's like a roundabout way to get there. It's normal. I find myself doing that sometimes.
I don't know if it's like convincing yourself it's from someone else. Was that helpful? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Are you stubborn like me where it's very hard for something to set in if someone tells it to you? If you don't, like, you have to trust that they have knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
If they're not coming from a credible place.
Yeah, 100%.
No matter how convincing they sound, I'm always, okay.
Well, this is where, like, I don't know, I think I just learned this from young is I'll always just be curious and just question it. Just to, like, me and Harry spoke about this, like, seeing someone's, like, depth of their, like, what they're saying. Also, like, throw a spanner in just to see if they can sort of back up. It's just not, like, one sentence they said, like, you can take that as like the oracle, like sort of see if you know what you're talking about. And then I feel like their experience and like where they're at. I mean, it's so bad to judge someone like that, but like sometimes I sort of do like, oh, maybe I will take your word, or And then I'll grab bits and pieces, like with like advice before, is like trying to navigate through what they're saying. So yeah, like trying to question whether it's like true or not.
No, I don't think it's
Yeah.
bad to judge people, especially if you're doing it from a place where you're trying to extract out what's useful for you.
Yeah.
Like this, don't judge people nonsense. I think
Yeah.
that's one of these things where you're just denying a broad truth. Is no
Yeah.
matter what it is, when you're talking to
Yeah.
someone,
Yeah.
you're judging what they're saying to
Yeah.
some degree. You're judging it, and if it's like a personal opinion story for them,
Yeah.
like you can judge it, but it doesn't matter what your judgment is. So there's no point
Yeah.
criticizing them. So like, who cares? But if they're giving you advice, you definitely should be judging what they're saying, or if they're saying something that's useful, you might implement. Like you have to judge what people say to you
Yeah.
because that's your way of discerning what's useful or not.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So like, I know it's funny because the default is don't judge, don't judge me, don't judge me. So
Yeah.
well, I'm going to judge you. Just don't care if I judge you. Maybe it's
Yeah,
more on
true.
you, not me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm open to that. Like it's funny because from my perspective, like I don't care if I tell someone something and then I'm like, oh, they're going to judge me. I don't actually care. So yeah, it should be on the flip side. Maybe it's just because the cameras are on. I'm trying to seem sensible.
Be political, yeah.
Trying to be articulate. So.
No, it's just that's one of those like inherent scripts that we just say it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'll say it. I've stopped saying it now too because I've opposed so many people saying don't judge. So you're like, I'm going to judge, but just don't care if I judge you.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
the burden's on you, not on me. I'm going to judge, like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing that like a tendency people tend to do is when you like tell them something they don't know and they say, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you know why you're doing it, then like I'm bringing this up because you clearly don't know. So why are you saying, yeah, I know? I don't know if that was a big thing in football. I think I said it once and I got absolutely rimmed for it. They were like, I don't know what I did. I think I kept like playing down one side. They're like, why the fuck do you keep playing that side? Like, open up, like check your shoulder and do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I should. And they're like, well, if you know you should, why aren't you doing it? Like you're an idiot. And I was like, yeah, right. And then they brought us into like a meeting, like or just like training finish, and then like he just went off. He's like, I hate when you guys say, yeah, I know. If you know why the fuck are you doing it then? Like you're just an idiot. Like yeah.
I need that because I sometimes will still catch myself saying it.
Yeah.
And the self-awareness, every time I do that, I tell myself, why the fuck? You don't know.
It's so easy to say. It just comes off your tongue.
It just default for whatever reason. But you, like you said, you need someone to yell at you for doing it to maybe get it to stick in.
Yeah, well, now I'm like make a very conscious effort saying, unless I actually know, I'm like, I know. But no one else obviously knows that. Everyone always uses, I know. So
unless you come up against a little shit who's going to press you on it, like you or me we might be the ones who say, "Oh God, tell us, tell us a little bit more about it then if you know so much." Yeah,
no, I think it's good being curious. Have you always been curious then about things, or?
Yeah, I've always pondered and been curious about things. Yes, I would always ask the question why. I think Mum would tell me that was the number one thing I would always say. Every single thing she would say is why.
Yeah.
Why? And to an age that's older than most kids do that, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm guessing you have too. Like you seem to be.
Or I feel like
curious at least.
Yeah, curious. And I think I would know the reason why, but if I say why, it would just make people upset. So like it would be like sort of people pleasing, I guess. Like I know the answer. So sometimes I would, but if I knew I wanted to get a reaction, I'd say why. And then they would know, and then they get angry and frustrated, and I was just like, there we go. I thought like, and it's so easy to be like devious, or like knowledge like that, or how to like not control or manipulate, but the situation, but like you're sort of in control, like you're a step ahead or two, of that person. So as a kid, being a little shit, I'd definitely use that as like leverage.
To your point before, like if you do want to actually figure out if someone knows something, if a little bit of pressure back is enough to get them off their rails, they don't know shit. Their depth of understanding is probably so low, or they're so insecure, I'm not going to listen to you anyway. Like, you've got to be able to tolerate a little bit of pushback on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or else I've just lost all confidence in whatever you've just told me.
Yeah. And that's like a very big thing in like sales, like doing my job. Is you've got to like be able to be confident on the phone to tell this person why they should do it. Like you're not going to just believe someone like, oh, maybe like how can I justify you paying $10,000 for this? Like obviously they need it, And I'm not trying to like upsell them. I think that's a big thing. Like the culture, like upselling, it's just so bullshit. I think someone needs something, they'll get it. And like obviously you can recommend and suggest things, and if they grab onto it, so be it. Like I'm not gonna like tell you, oh, you have to have this, or like convince them in a way. But obviously knowing your stuff and telling them the exact and like providing scenarios. So like you got to be able to dumb it down as well. Not dumb like it sounds like I'm better than them, but like saying it in a way where they can understand.
Yeah, you work with this stuff all day. You understand it a little bit.
Yeah.
You can,
It's like you just like sort of like, yeah, no. And it's actually this like doing insurance is pretty funny. Like you feel like you should be important, but you're not. Like we're like the bottom of the barrel of like if someone starts a business, like everyone goes, okay, I need an accountant. I need what do we need? I need a lawyer. I need a solicitor. I need to work out like how we're going to do this legally. And then like they go downstairs, and then like the last person they always forget about is like insurance. But then like that's when we come in, and then we get like it makes you feel like a lawyer sometimes because you're like reading like scriptures and stuff like that. It's like the insurance companies, and like you're just having these debates, and it's fun like acting dumb and making them come up with the answer. Because if you come in like an authoritative, I can't even say the word, as if you like knew like what the outcome should be, people get like defensive and like their ego feels touched. Like, no, well, I know more than you. So you like sort of just play dumb, but like throwing like the question like, oh, like what happens in this scenario? Like, oh, would you ever consider like this being like a total loss, like say for a vehicle? Like, oh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I think like, like according to all this, like make them feel like they've come to the conclusion. And they're like, bang. And then we just like take their name down. Like, okay, we hold it against them. Like, well, you said this. And like legally they have to honor what they say.
Yeah.
So those are like fun little like games, like mental games we play. And that's just enjoyable. Like it's so much joy in it.
A little bit of that devious side of you.
Yeah. Like I think that's fun. But yeah, I'll have an awareness of it that don't feel like I ever have the need to like act out and like oh, I need to control this situation. But yeah, no, just it'd be so easy for some people. It'd be like, oh, like I want to have power in this world. I want to, have so much control and it'll make them feel good. But I just see like it's just so pointless.
Yeah, it doesn't last forever. If you've got that mentality, someone's going to work you out eventually, and just like you're too much, bro.
yeah, exactly. And
but
then,
yeah, sales gets a bad rap because people tend to think that you're trying to sell them shit they don't need.
Yeah,
which I think is probably that seems to be a lot of the sales tactics.
Yeah,
but like good sales, you're selling something to a person who needs the thing you have. So if you like root that in truth,
yeah,
you're not lying to them at all. You've like always got a leg to stand on, and you're always able to answer any question to your point. Like you can follow up anything you've said because you're not trying to make it work in this scenario. It does actually work in this scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been like so many times I like it. You just like just because of the cost of living is increasing. So obviously insurance goes off, like say the amount of claims that are arisen for like homes over Australia. So they obviously got to try and make their losses back, increase premium each year.
Yeah.
So like some people's like just for their house just increases so much, and they'll set up phone calls, and I'd sometimes just sit on the phone for 40 minutes just explaining the same thing like for 40 minutes straight. And I think most time like you can hear it in the voice, all they want is the reassurance that this is the best option and like this is correct, you're not just trying to like fuck me over. And I think it's obviously some people take advantage of that. They'll be like, oh yeah, I can easily grab this by the like balls by the horn and say, oh yeah, like no, like this is all good. But like having a genuine like interaction with them about it makes them feel better as well. And I always think, how would I feel on the receiving end of this? Because I wouldn't want like I'm very blunt with sort of things, and like if someone just blowing smoke in my ass, I'll just tell them to get lost. So
yeah, well, genuine's good. It ensures people come back to you for future things too. Like,
and it seems
if they feel like you've screwed them over, they're not going to come back to you for more. So like long term, it just seems like a better strategy in almost every regard. Is to just
and next minute you're getting a call from a random number and it's their friends.
That's right.
It's like it's just crazy the power of word of mouth. Like, yeah, it's insane. And like that was like a big thing. Like not like I learned from football as well. Like these small things, like focus on the small things. Don't worry about like the big things, because if you worry about the small things, the big things will just work itself out. So just be very like attentive to like each detail. Don't screw it up, because it just makes yourself like have a bad look if you scrub the small things. They're like, well, he's useless. He can't even do that. So doing that and just focusing on like just the conversations, or working out how the person like sort of speaks. If they like to act like they know everything, I'll let you speak, and just dangle the carrot for you to just sort of like come to the same conclusion. Or like some people need like that guidance, but like, oh no, like I'll make the decision for you. Like this is the right thing I'm suggesting, and like take my word for it. So like trying to work out like the little things, and just magically has worked so well.
Did you learn that while doing it? Do you feel like you came in with a bit of an understanding of how to understand what people need? I feel like doing it a lot through your job, you probably would have learned how to gauge what kind of a style they would like out of you. Like, are you going to be the leader? Are you going to be the one who's just reassuring them?
Yeah.
Like, did you learn on the job, or you came into it with a bit of
I
an understanding of that?
I don't know if it's just because of social skills and like talking to people like a lot. And like having like tough conversations with people, like deep conversations, like with mates and everything. I think working how people are and how they like work, or how they're reactive in like a conversation, that definitely helped. But then it was more my boss like implemented me like, if they are like this, sort of like react like this. But I'd like to observe how people were when they talk about certain things, and just see how they would react, or whether they like to lead the conversation, or like they act like they know everything. That's fine. Like I'll just throw in my 2 cents here and there, just to sort of like navigate it a bit better. Or some people just want to be told things, like, oh, like here's advice, like do this, do that. Some people like that. So I think having that social experience before going into this like helped a lot. So yeah, just trying to figure out people was just a bit easier, I guess.
Yeah, I think you do a pretty good job of just shutting up and letting people talk. Like I remember even when we used to work together, you're pretty good at just like letting someone go on with something.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of that curiosity, but also that social awareness is just,
Yeah.
you don't have to interject at every moment. You don't have to share your opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want to talk, and recognizing that is very valuable.
Exactly. There was a bit of stoicism. It's like, what, you're blessed with 2 ears and like 1 mouth, so use your ears more.
Yeah.
Something like that. I forgot who it
Yeah.
was. I don't actually, stoicism, I don't mind. I still don't know where that came from. Hey, like that was like, unless you know.
What do you mean in terms of the Stoic philosophy?
Yeah, like stoic beliefs and stuff like that. Was that just because of?
Well, it originated thousands of years ago, right? At a very tough time. Like, very tough to exist in that world compared to the world we know now. I think, like, some of the key figures in it are like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, who's I think a bit later. There's another big one. I think it's Seneca. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it actually loosely stemmed from like Socrates, like who's often regarded as like the father of, I don't know, one of Western philosophy, where a lot of what Socrates would do, because I've actually listened to a little bit of him lately, is a lot of what his philosophy is someone says something to him and then he questions it.
Yeah.
And it's like what we were talking about before, is where you're just pressing more and more to see exactly how much they know about a thing they're talking about, and do they believe what they're saying?
Yeah.
And then perhaps veering them in a way that's a more rational and logical perspective of what it is they're trying to say.
Yeah.
And getting to the actual truth of the thing. But a lot of it comes from pressing. A lot of the Stoic is, it seems to be a lot of not emotionally reacting to things very quickly.
Yeah.
Which is a huge part. When it comes to social skill, that's a massively important social skill.
Exactly, yeah.
Being able to hold your emotions in and figure out what the person's actually saying.
Yeah.
Because like emotions could get in the way of actually listening to what someone's saying to you.
Yeah.
So you could actually be more rational if you're able to get your emotions under control. Yeah. And for me, I think it's the same for you, is maybe not in football, you seem to be emotionally, but that's maybe a game for you. Maybe that's as gamified for you, so it's fun. Yeah. But just in conversation, we don't react very emotionally to things.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're drawn to something like stoicism. So it's a bit of selection bias, where I like stoicism. I think I like it because it seems to fit maybe not me completely as I am now, but that's kind of my ideal.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah,
what I would work towards, is being able to be more like that in
yeah.
most regards.
Would you say it's more like accepting like the harsh truths of like reality? Because it
Yeah.
always it's like red pill son like kind of guy. I actually didn't realize what that meant till like probably the start of the year.
I
Like
still
never
barely know
bothered
what
about it.
Yeah, I still barely even you guys are like, oh, what is red pill again? Is that
It's like you accept the truth of like reality.
yeah, some of that can be too cynical though. It's like
Yeah,
you accept the truth, but they seem to be accepting the truths that are the harshest truths.
yeah,
Like, yeah, there's some harsh truths, but there's some truths that aren't so bad.
yeah,
I
exactly.
like the yeah, like people hijack stoicism in a negative way where it's just like all emotions useless. It's like no, like a stoic will recognize an emotion is real,
Yeah,
but just do what you can to limit it affecting your behaviors after that,
exactly. Yeah,
because there's a more rational course you can take
yeah,
that's probably going to benefit you more long term.
yeah,
So it's accept the emotion's going to be there. Don't let the emotion hijack you. Now let's think about this rationally. This
yeah,
is life. Not
exactly.
getting emotional over things you can't control, huge one.
Yeah,
It's just, is it something within my control?
yeah, that's right.
If it is, okay, what can I do to make that better? If
Yeah,
it's not, why am I worried about it?
yeah. Do you
So
feel
hard.
like it's easier for a male to think like that than a female?
Yeah, we're skewed a little bit more that
Yeah,
way. Again, there's biological reasons for it. Like
yeah,
we are blessed with hormones that don't allow us that when we emotionally outburst, a lot of the time there's rage associated with it. We're like
yeah,
more aggressive, but in terms of just our hormonal makeup,
yeah,
generally speaking,
yeah,
we're going to have a slightly different reaction, and we do skew a little bit more towards the less emotional side post reaction to some emotional stimulus.
yeah,
But again, there's like evolutionary biological reasons for
yeah, yeah,
that.
exactly. It's just crazy. I always think that like it's crazy how like the past like of humans' existence provides so much evidence now to us. It gets brought to light.
Some insight, yeah, insight
Yeah,
into why we
it's
respond.
and people sort of neglect it. Like think like, oh, like this person like sort of acts like this person, but they'll never do something like that. But like they've got the same traits. Like it's easy to sort of build like a factual sort of story of that person, like what potentially will happen because we've seen something in the past happen like
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I just find it crazy how like history can just provide so much
yeah,
evidence to us.
because it should give you insight into the potential if things aren't as cushy as they are right now. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
are these people? Some people are just hanging on because life is cruisy.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they're not being pushed in any regard.
Yeah,
That's going to make some people super productive and better. It's going to make some people incredibly dangerous and
yeah,
terrifying.
exactly. Yeah,
Which is why, like, yeah, it's worth reading some of these harsh books about the past
yeah, exactly.
where life was not so easy and there were certain situations where people just like you and me were pushed into directions where, yes, of course, there's always personal choice, but they were pushed more. There was more pressure applied to go down certain paths that we wouldn't even conceptualize being possible now.
Yeah, exactly. And nor would we actually want to do as well.
Yeah,
No freedom then. Like they
yeah,
wouldn't like you literally like invisible chains on you. You had to do this.
yes. If it wasn't explicitly said, you knew that something bad was happening. If,
Yeah,
say, you're in the Soviet Union and you spoke out against a regime or something like that. Like,
exactly. Yeah. No. Have you been? Do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
I've heard Charlie Kirk.
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't tuned him in years. He's pretty like
What are your thoughts on it?
he's just adversarial. He's
Yeah,
very Christian, right? I remember he's
yeah,
very
yeah.
Christian.
It's outrageous.
I haven't watched him in a few years, but go on, tell me a bit about.
Oh no, I've just been tuned into him heaps recently. Just his like stances on things. But yeah, he's just I don't. I have nothing much to say. I just thought you might have been.
Oh yeah, I've come across him because he was
Yeah,
in, especially like 3-4 years ago. I don't know how much he's kicking around now. Obviously, he's making a resurgence,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
he would push back against a lot of woke ideology and a lot of that stuff. I was like, you agree with some stuff, you don't agree with others.
Yeah,
He had a take.
yeah.
He had a take, and he seemed pretty rational, but I can't remember.
I think his resurgence from like everything happening in like LA and stuff like with the immigrants and how like America's trying to kick illegal immigrants,
Yes.
illegal immigrants out. So like he sort of got that. He's like going on like uni campuses like he always used to do, and like having those discussions. And just yeah, I just think some of his takes are just so crazy. But then like I always have like I strip like I feel like I observe everything, but you can't like in a world we can never have like good and good. It's always good and bad. Like no other party's going to be happy no matter what. Like we're never going to come to a median or a solution where we can sort of all just live in like a la la land or like a utopian world. Like,
Yeah, utopia seems to be
like,
counter-human.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, the human brain is too complex, and we're not wired to be like that.
No, like we need some kind of adversary. We need some kind of, even if it's manufactured, you need some kind of like something to fight against.
Yeah, exactly. And like history shows that. Even when we're like primates, we were literally just killing each other just for more resources and stuff like that. Like, yeah, no, there's just so many. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot more debates now just to sort of see where people stand with things. But I don't go into like, oh, I have to prove you wrong. I'm just like interested why. Like, we think like that. And like maybe I haven't looked at it that way. Maybe I should, and I can understand. Like, I think that's a big thing. The older I've got is, especially for like females. Like, I think that they face a lot more than we know, like as males. But I think maybe that's just because of having like a partner and like two sisters and actually being older and a bit more aware of the world and like how much more they actually are. Like not struggling with, like I think just like being, I don't know, just like the threat of males. I think that's like the biggest thing. It's not like feminists and stuff like that. Like it's not like that severe.
Yeah, no, they
like,
just have different.
Just
challenges.
like just like how difficult it is for a woman.
Yeah, like I at 20 years old felt comfortable going out, catching a bus, and then walking 40 minutes home at 1 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas that's not a rational choice to make if you're a young girl same age.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just because even though it's not likely that you're going to get attacked, there's much more of a chance you will than I will from doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, yes, it's being able to, as you said, like me too, mature and recognize, okay, there's differences. There's clearly differences in terms of a little more anxious of an upbringing, in terms of you just have to be more hyper aware.
Yeah,
because the consequences are a little greater, especially in these regards.
Yeah, and that sucks. That like that's like sort of solution. It's just them sort of being hyper aware and there's not much they can sort of do. Like it's like they just have to just adapt, which is just crazy. But yeah, and I think I always try and find a solution for every like problem. But then sometimes I'm just like, I can't. Like, this is way too hard. Like, and that's why like I have these debates. Maybe like I could piece something from both ends where a solution could be made. Like, or even like I have like big thoughts about like the prison systems, like jails and stuff like that, where you can sort of see on like both ends. Like, is there any other better idea to like rehabilitate these people? Obviously, some people mentally just so far gone, or they have like issues mentally where they need to be treated, but the system sort of fails them.
Or they can't, like psychopaths. It's not really
exactly.
treatable illness. It's just they're skewed towards no empathy. Yeah,
exactly. And so like it's so subjective then, because then it's like individualized. Like each person, you need to do so much then. But then like for like juvie, like would it be better? Like my boss actually said it was like a pretty good idea. I think it was a good idea. Like kids like crave discipline. I think like especially young boys, like instead of taking them to juvie and just being around all each other, like take them out to like, I don't know, plot of land inland and make them like do like army training for like 2 years. That's what I do straight. And like they're not really, they can run away. What are they going to do? Try and survive out there. So like I think like gaining that sort of discipline and having like a mentor over them, telling them, no, don't do that, or you can't do that. This is your punishment.
Oh, a huge predictor of criminality itself for young men is not having a male role model.
Yeah.
So like fatherless homes skews the people who end up committing crime if they're from a fatherless home is much more than it would be from a non-fatherless home, right? So so having a good male role model that's showing you, hey, this is how you can be a competent man.
Yeah, exactly.
In society, you're not going to skew towards that as much because you see that.
Yeah.
There's something very important to having that exposure to someone who's, you know, like you, man of your genetics. He's doing okay in the world. He's not skewing towards crime. Yeah. Like male role models are huge. So yeah, even something like that where you can implement some kind of role model system, but it's so hard, especially by the time they hit 16. Like a lot of the developments happen. Like they've got a worldview. You can definitely shape it. Yeah. There's another perspective where So it takes till about 25 for your brain as a male to fully develop.
Yeah.
And at that point, one of the last things that develops is your executive function, which is essentially you're quieting. Like you've got an impulsive thought, you can rein it back.
Yeah.
That's like a rudimentary understanding of what that does.
Right.
There's an argument that like if they're like a consistent criminal and at a younger age,
Yeah.
is keeping them until 25 beneficial to stop them doing any worse crime.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
That's maybe a more
Yeah.
harsh because you're then imprisoning them for 9 years for doing all these crimes. It's like
Yeah.
that's not a win-win situation. But there's that perspective where it's like, well, there's kind of nothing you can do with repeat offenders
Yeah. Exactly.
because they seem to just keep going and going and going, and then they mature out of it
Yeah.
as they get older. Because
Yeah.
most of the crime is committed by young men.
Yeah.
I think it's either below the 25 or below 30. Like men from 18 to 30
Right.
is most of the crime, or maybe it's 15 to 30.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just a maturity thing. It seems like a huge part of it is maturity.
Yeah.
So that these you could have 100 different theoretical scenarios to try and fix
Yeah.
it, and none of them are going to be perfect, and it's going to upset people.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's still good to have these discussions because like you want to see every perspective.
Yeah. Exactly. And like that was something like I'm trying to find a solution for. Was just like I don't know. Like I actually don't know.
The discipline is the thing. Discipline. Like,
Yeah. Definitely.
People crave discipline.
So
even
do
though
you
it's very
think,
hard.
as a parent, then would it be better like soft parenting? Like you ever heard that term? Like
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Where you kind of like let them.
yeah, like you let them be
Very
just like
control.
nice. You don't sort of discipline more. Like being a bit harsher would be more beneficial.
So soft parenting is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
This is Jonathan Haidt, the same guy I was talking about with Anxious Generation. He's also done
Yeah.
work in an earlier book. He's a social psychologist.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I think it was called The Coddling of the American Mind.
Yeah.
And he talked a lot about this in terms of the soft parenting approach.
Yeah.
Where you just let them be, you never discipline, you never expect anything of them really. That's a recipe for creating an anxious child. Right? Because
Yeah.
not having a framework or a foundation
Yeah.
of doing difficult things or having things expected of you,
Right. Okay.
as you grow up and become an adult, you're then overwhelmed with all these options and choice, and you don't know how to align yourself with just doing a thing and focusing on a thing. Because you've been told your whole life, whatever you think is probably right.
Yeah. Okay.
Like whatever you think is right.
Yeah.
You're never getting much pushback.
Yeah. But
And then you get to an age where you realize, I don't know everything.
yeah.
How the hell do I handle this? I can't cope with my own thoughts because I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
Mum, help me. Like you take away any capacity for agency when you overly soft parent kids, give them what they want. Overly disciplined parents, then
Yeah.
it can have a similar effect where they only crave outsourced discipline.
Yeah.
Where like if you're harsh, you need
Yeah.
the parent telling you what to do for you to actually even do anything.
Yeah.
Like then again, you're like, oh, well, now they're the kind of person who's completely dependent
Yeah.
on
Exactly.
being told what to do.
Yeah.
So it's a
crazy.
blend of which is like the best strategy is you give them independency and agency, but you expect things from them and you
Yeah.
encourage them to do hard things, even at the risk of failure. So they're not leading the way necessarily.
Yeah.
You're guiding them into difficult things. It's what sport does really well. It gives you
Yeah.
like a very clear black and white, okay, especially individual sports, but you get this from team sports.
Yeah.
Are you working hard enough to win and do well in this thing?
Yeah.
If you're not, you're going to keep losing. You're not going to feel good. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
If you
Exactly.
work hard, you can actually have some impact on the thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Feel better, get better rewards from it.
Yeah.
So it's a little microcosm of life of you're associating now, okay, I'm working hard at a thing that's difficult.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I'm getting a result I like, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So it gives you that. So you've got that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
So I think it's, you don't want soft parenting. You
Yeah.
don't want to be authoritarian
Yeah.
where you're just, you say, I say it, you do it. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to blend it where you punish the bad things, you encourage the good things, and you encourage them to make mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Exactly. So such a grey
balanced
area.
approach.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
which is I think most people intuitively
Yeah.
understand and do anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The overly soft parenting is like, no, kids don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't just everything they say goes. That is a terrible framework for them
yeah,
because then they think the whole world should do everything they want.
yeah,
And then it's not going to do that. And they're going to be crippled when people start saying no to them when they get out into the world.
yeah. This
They
is
need
true.
to understand the value of that.
Yeah,
So that's like, I think any developmental psychologist would kind of be like, that's not a good strategy.
yeah,
You need the balance.
yeah.
I think they call it authoritative parenting instead of authoritarian.
I
Authoritative.
Yeah,
Or it's essentially that way you're
yeah.
encouraging them to do hard things. You're providing a safe enough framework for them to do it.
Right. Yeah,
And you let them know when they're doing the wrong thing. It's like, no, I expect you to do this. You should be doing this. Why didn't you do that?
yeah.
But you're
I
not
see.
like disproportionately punishing bad behavior.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I think again, this is people want to hyper focus on one end of the spectrum or the other.
Yeah.
Where like, no, there's somewhere in the middle. There's probably the truth.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
It's
Like the
interesting
media.
having those.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to have those extreme views, and people can have them, and it's fun to talk about. But
Yeah.
there's something there that you can extract from both, but you don't want to lean in fully to one.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think maybe I got the wrong definition of soft parenting. Then I was thinking more like that helicopter, like being like hovering around.
Oh, that's he talks about that more specifically. That's kind of what I was referencing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I.
It's
just
like
came to
yeah,
conclusion,
soft
that's what
parent.
it is.
Yeah, okay. It's where you
Yeah.
you don't let them go out and do anything without your supervision.
Yes.
Yeah.
That,
So that in itself, same thing. It's going to create the anxious children.
Yeah.
Because then they need you all the time
Exactly.
to validate them.
Yeah, and you can sort of see that, like.
That's huge. That one is very prevalent.
can
At
sort
least
of,
maybe
yeah.
it was in maybe our generation, the generation before, like
What?
helicoptering. I think
it's more common now.
is it more common now? I think so. It's
I
more
think it's a
common
lot
like
more.
with people.
I think generations before us, they weren't.
Part of it is people are terrified of the world.
Yeah.
They think, and this is one of the things that isn't quite true, is that they think the world is more dangerous now because they can see more
Yeah.
terrible things
Yeah.
at an instant.
Yeah.
But again, this book, The Colony American Mind, it's great. It translates to all like Western cultures
Yeah.
in the anxious generation. They're important. I think every parent would find value in reading that.
Yeah.
Because the helicoptering, again, they'll be safe, they'll be secure, nothing will happen to them while they're kids.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I hope you're okay with being that helicopter parent until they're 40, 50, 60.
Yeah.
Because they're always going to be needing you for a lot of things. Because they're going to be very anxious and they're going to be scared to make decisions themselves if you overly helicopter.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like there's an element of risk you have to engage your kids in to allow them to develop.
Yeah. Exactly.
The good way is tough things. Get them to do like a martial art or something really difficult.
Yeah. Breed an absolute.
But
beast
again,
in jiu-jitsu.
you put them into like that. That will
Yeah.
alleviate a lot of anxiety because they feel competent if anything does go down.
Yeah. Definitely.
They have some capacity to defend themselves. It's
Yeah. To be fair, I always have these like thoughts. Like me and my partner always talk about it. Like I'm like, yeah, no, we're gonna put our kids in like boxing like super early. Just have like some form of like. Obviously, they'll learn like discipline, and then they can stand up for themselves. And then the counter argument's always like, well, what if they use it like an outlash at someone for like saying the wrong thing? And I'll be like, well, at least they defended themselves. Like I want my kids to be like stand up, like be independent, like make their own decisions. Oh well, you're gonna deal with the repercussions. That's just part of learning. But at least you stood up for yourself instead of just getting pushed around. Like you need to stand up for yourself because the world's a lot crueler than that. Like when you get out of school, it's going to be worse.
That's right. That's why helicopter parenting doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like exposure therapy.
Yeah.
It's literally like exposure therapy.
Yeah, you let them go out into the world and experience the toughness of it.
And I think that's like one thing. Like I like growing up. That's why I gained so much like being independent so young. Because mum and dad would always like work their asses off to just like try and keep everything alive. And I'd just be like working out, figuring out the world by myself, young. Like I'd go to mates' houses, and this is before we really had like. I feel like anyone younger than me, like maybe like within 2 years, like we didn't really have phones. I didn't have my first phone until like grade 8 or grade 7. So like I was calling people up on the landline, telling them to jump on COD, or rocking up to their houses, knocking on their doors, like going to neighbors, playing like football on the streets and stuff like that, like all out of my own accord because I wanted to go do it and be independent. And like it gave me good exposure to the world and like sort of shaped who I am today. So like I'm like grateful for that, which is what a kid sort of need. And then I like look at it and like, well, maybe I should implement that for my kid.
Yeah, if it worked for you, it seems to
Yeah,
have. And
exactly.
especially, but also your parents working so hard.
Yeah,
It's also good for a kid to see that
exactly. Yes.
because then there's a work ethic instilled in you of like,
Yeah,
mum and dad, look, maybe they're not giving me everything I wanted to hear all the time,
yeah,
but they worked their ass off to
yeah,
keep us functioning, keep us surviving. It's like, oh, that's good. Your
yeah.
kids will pick up on that too, just from seeing
Yeah, how would
dad's
you do?
working all the time, mum's working all
Yeah,
the time. There's good to come out of that. It's probably harder to recognize when you just hit 16, 17, 18.
yeah,
Maybe start to think, oh, I didn't get all the shit these people had and they weren't around enough.
yeah,
But as you get older, you start to appreciate, I think,
yeah.
oh
Definitely.
wow, that's a huge sacrifice. They put me first by doing this, or
Yeah,
you
it's
just
so
learn
easy.
work ethic.
It's so easy to think like that. That's how I used to think. I was so young. I was like, like I'd be so against them. Like, like fuck you. Like, play, like be the victim. Like my life's shit and all this. Like realistically, it's not that bad. Then you get older and older, and you mature. You go through experience like working and everything. You're like, oh, you know what? Like I feel so guilty for being like that towards you, but like I understand now, and like I'm so like grateful for that. Like yeah, just me being a little turd and so narrow minded to the world. I felt guilty about it. So I was like, oh well, at least like I can understand now.
I think that's when you truly become an adult, is when
Yeah.
you no longer blame your parents for anything that's going on wrong with
Yeah.
your life. You now understand, oh, okay, they were doing their best. That's
Yeah.
like a good key or a good cue to being mature is
Yeah.
you no longer blame your parents for anything going on for you. It's like, no, okay.
Yeah.
They were doing what they could. I now understand.
Yeah. And I
My turn
think
to do the same.
having that expectation on like parents as well, like, oh, they should know what they've lived
Oh,
before. But like it's their first time with life.
yes.
Like you have no like they have no clue what to do. And I reckon it'll be the same when you have kids. Like it's
Everyone.
so easy to fantasize like how you'll be or how easy it will be. But like until you're in it, you're like, "Ooh, like you're just gonna be hit with like a brick wall. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I thought all these ideas I had were the right things to do.
You find out what
Yeah.
truly you're made of when you have a kid. You
Yeah, yeah.
start to realize what matters.
And then I don't blame my parents for anything. I'm like they're just living, and like they can only go off their experiences as
That's
them
right.
being kids, and you obviously, and I think the self awareness is great in that scenario because then you can take out like, oh, I don't want that. Like that was really shitty.
That's
as a
right.
kid.
Yes. Yes.
And and if people don't action it, like it's just annoying. If you're self aware, you know it's bad, but you just keep falling into the same habit. Like I think
Yeah.
like you can disrupt the generations. Like you can have you have the power in your hands to change your generation. So obviously like try and implement it for a couple more generations where it's not like that. Those habits are sort of like mitigated because you chose to take action, not just fall into those same patterns. And I feel like it's very easy being like a product of your environment.
Yeah. And if you blame them, you're kind of giving yourself a justification for continuing down the same path
Exactly.
because it's their fault.
Yeah.
It's their fault. You have no agency to actually change anything because it's their fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to do the same thing because that's all I knew. And then,
Yeah. And this is why I didn't have this. I didn't have that. They did this to me. Like, yeah.
And then you can justify it to like your kids, like, oh, stop being a little brat. I didn't have it. Or like,
Yeah.
it's just a pattern. I think,
Yes.
I think action is the most important thing. Like I've come to conclusion with life is it's good to have the idea, but if you don't action it, or at least try action.
That's right. That's right.
Like take the small steps. Not like saying like you have to go balls to the wall and like always do it, but like at least keep trying. Like then like that's the most important thing in life.
Yeah. Extract out the useful information that you can actually implement.
Yeah.
There you go. That's probably just a short-term recipe to success.
Yeah. It's formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I talk to like some mates are like commercial real estate agents and stuff like that, and they do extremely well. And some of them don't believe in like a formula, like of like how to be successful. I'm like, are you serious? It's like that. Surely, like your habits dictates what you do. So you don't think there's no formula to this?
Yeah, there's got to at least be a formula to give you the best chance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you can't just be like, oh, everyone's completely different. It's whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah.
There are universal things that people are implementing.
Yeah. Well,
you
it's such
can
for
watch, yeah.
anything. Like I feel like it's so simple to say. Like you can use like hard work in everything you do. Obviously, like hard work with intention.
Yeah.
I think that's like because you can just work your balls off and you're not like trying to get better at something. You're just doing it for the sake of it. Like you're in the rat race. You're just doing it mindlessly.
Yeah.
But if you have like intention to like, okay, I want to do this to get better at this. So you upskill yourself a little bit more, and then okay, I've got that factor sorted down. I think I can move on to the next skill. It's not like benefiting yourself. So yeah, I think action with intention is probably the refined version. Of
Yes.
it. Yeah.
That's where the self awareness and self auditing every now and then. I think it's worth
Yeah.
every so often, whether it's monthly, 3 monthly, whatever. Every time you go for a run,
Yeah.
you're just assessing where you're at,
Yeah.
in what direction you're going on, and if that's the right one you should be going on for you.
Yeah.
You think that's right? Am I doing quite right? Quite right? Okay, I'll keep going. I'll change it up.
Yeah, keep refining it.
But hard work is hard work number one. You got to be
Yeah.
willing to work your ass off,
Yeah, 100%.
and you have to be willing to go the right direction. You have,
Yeah.
so you have to think about it. Yeah. Well, I think that's good, Stegs. I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah, that's right.
Much appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thank you for it.
Anything you want to get out there before we finish up? Anything we missed? Covered a good amount there.
No, I'd say that's everything covered.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you,
Satisfied with
Stegs.
that. Awesome. Thanks for that.
Appreciate it.